It's Friday, May 9th, 2025. All right, everybody, let's start off as we normally should. I think that's the better way to say it since it so often gets sidetracked. Or I'd say 1 out of 4 times I don't make it to the opening thing about support the way I should. So I'll say should start by telling you if you'd like to support our show, you can go to supportourshow.com and there you will find various avenues to support the show. As I've said a couple times, but I'm going to repeat because it is now actually pretty true, and not just insignificantly true. I would encourage people to join the Patreon even at the free level because everything there is available to everybody. I don't paywall anything. And there is stuff there that is nowhere else, not because I'm attempting to segment it and build a Patreon, but because that is, right now, the only safe haven to post some things uncensored.
You didn't know where to put it, is really where it is in the end.
No. It's not that. It's the only
you're right, because you have the rating system.
Is,
Because YouTube would pull it down. Yeah.
YouTube will pull it down. They get sensitive about dumb things. So that is still, right now, legitimately a place that doesn't appear to be trying to railroad everybody on it so far. That's going to change, but it hasn't changed yet. In fact, if anything, it's getting cheaper because of this Apple lawsuit thing or whatever, so I guess those fees are going away, which I never implemented them to begin with, so nothing should change on ours, but some people who did, I guess, can now take them off, this surcharge thing that Apple was doing. I never did that, I didn't care. But it's basically the only place you can see the uncensored videos of our commentaries, which I'm not even bothering with YouTube, because they would block the whole thing, so I don't even post them.
They would block
I'm not even putting them.
Yes.
And then any of the stuff that Doug and I are doing, where there's movie clips, I'm not even bothering with YouTube.
That was going to be heavily pulled down, yeah.
Well, I mean, I just block it all. So, you can see them, and you can listen to them, and if that's what you want, that's fine. But if you want to see what we're referring to in many cases, the only place that I'm not doing Vimeo. I'm not going to make people go to Vimeo because that thing is really inconsistent even for me to use. So I'd rather just have people go to Patreon because it appears to work the easiest for everybody. And I'm not trying to cause new sources of friction on stuff you're using. So it really is the easiest place. I'll
ask you a question because I don't actually know. Can you download something from Patreon or do you have to watch it on Patreon?
Well, I think you can. That's a great question. I don't know. I don't restrict anything. You want to download these things.
So if I go to the site,
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Hold on.
I'm just wondering.
I really don't know. If somebody wants to try it, let me know if you can or if you can't. I will see if you can. Actually, here, hold on a minute. I get to try out my new keyboard. So can I download a Patreon video? Let's see.
I have to ask because you've mentioned it.
Yeah,
who'd you get a keyboard from?
All right, so
no, your keyboard. Who'd you get the keyboard from?
I'm going to.
Okay.
Apparently, it is not a simple thing, so I'll just say that because I'm seeing ways to download from Patreon.
There you go.
I will investigate whether that is a setting, but I think it is. I think it's something Patreon probably does save bandwidth, but I'll check into that.
Yeah.
In any event, so the keyboard. Okay, this dovetails nicely into one of my openers.
Okay.
Because it's actually kind of a two-pronged thing. But anyway, that's the reason I'm saying Patreon is a good thing to do, not because I want anybody to send money, but if you want to, fine. Everything is unlocked for everybody.
I mean,
the free
that goes,
tier gets everything.
That goes for everything, right? If you want to send money, by all means, feel free, but you don't have to.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is you will not be gated off if you join on the free tier. And the reason to do it is not even that I care about Patreon numbers. It's because you can see the way I want these things to be seen. So if you care, go join that at the free tier. You'll get everything. That's my main point. It is right now, video-wise, the best place for anything that even has a small whiff of copyright on it. So there you go. So if you'd like to avoid the copyright stink police,
a whiff of copyright.
Yeah, exactly. Copyright whiff. So, all right. So that's why I was talking about that. But supportourshow.com has it all there, including the Patreon. Now, keyboard. Yeah. So there's two things, because this both has to do with, okay, I want things the way that I want them. So
yes. No, that's true. That's true. And I feel bad because was it in the last show? Was it the last show where we just took off? We just took off for a while talking about like keyboard porn. Yeah.
No. People like it. It's fine. It's one of those things. People like it. So I narrowed it down. Because I, if you remember, you said Keychron, and I said, last time I tried Keychron.
Well, that's what I'm curious, because you were going to email them and be like, can I do what I want to do? So I was curious how they handled that. I did. Yeah. So, but I also tried out a keyboard, my first choice, the first one I tried. And I did check your idea about Best Buy. Nobody had the keyboards here that I wanted. Of course they did. Of course they didn't. No. That sucks.
No, because there's too many keyboards. They're not going to carry them all. And I knew that.
No, they tend to only carry... They tend to carry just, I think, the Q1 and the K1 or something like that. Yeah,
and they carry the big full ones, and I don't want the full one.
Oh, no, you know what? The Best Buy by me actually did have the compacts. That's why I was able to try them out first.
Well, okay, so the ones that I saw, they only had the Bluetooth ones. They did not have any with the 2.4 gigahertz radio.
Okay.
And I don't want that. So going in and trying is pointless, because, So... my requirements, as a reminder, were the following. 2.4 gigahertz and Bluetooth. I wanted both. Backlit keyboard. And what I ended up with was either a 75% or an 85%. That's the two that I'm fine with.
That's 10 keyless, right?
It's 10 keyless, but it's two different flavors of 10 keyless. Ironically. Yeah. So, I saw one from Cooler Master, and I tried that one out first.
Oh, Cooler Master. I think I've heard of them.
The keyboard itself was fine, but it was too big. I realized it was just too big enough that I was hitting it with my mouse. And I'm like, nope, I can't do it. Because it's not really 10 keyless, but it was minimal. So what they did was they crushed in the number keys.
What was the name of it? Was the MK770?
That's it, the 770. That's it. Yeah. Very nice to type on.
Oh, yeah. They pushed it in a little bit, but you still got a full number pad, yeah.
Also, I'll tell you this. That switch on the back to control it, miserable. Miserable. I actually liked how heavy it was. You could kill somebody with that keyboard without much effort.
The aluminum Keychrons, they're like weapons.
Yeah, that Cooler Master, when I picked the box up, I was like, fuck me. All right. Yeah. And, which is fine, but... and
they had the white switches. I mean, I understand that because they come with the white switches.
Yeah, and like I said, the typing experience was beautiful, but the switch on the back, and the fact that it was too big, I actually liked the weight.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I liked the weight too.
So I literally typed on it for about 15 minutes, and I was like, I can't use this. So I immediately returned it. I know, but I don't want to try to talk myself into it. I think that's bad.
No, I get it.
If you don't like something you're going to be using all the time, get rid of it.
I like the fact that they advertise on there. It's hot swappable switches. I love hot swappable switches.
Yeah, no, that's great. So then I went back to Keychron. I'm like, all right, let me take another look and see. And so I then picked up and currently have the Keychron V1 Max, I believe.
Oh, the V1. Is that plastic or aluminum base?
I don't know. It feels...
Does it weigh a brick?
It's not as heavy as the Cooler Master, but it's not as light as other keyboards. Hold on, let me look. I can tell you. I can look it up.
Because it should be.
I really don't... It feels nice. I don't care if it's aluminum or not. That's not a requirement for me.
I was just curious. So you said it's the V1 Max, you said?
The V1 Max, Jesus, Max, like VIA something.
Oh, okay. Hold on. You've got kind of like gray keys with some red buttons.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's plastic. That's fine. So yeah, it's a plastic one. Aluminum was never a requirement for me, so that's okay.
Sorry, I just muted out a massive coughing fit. That is not aluminum. That's plastic.
No, it's plastic, and that's fine. That's not a requirement for me.
So that keyboard, that was the first Keychron that I used, right? And that is the one that I basically now use it's like the house computer that the kids use.
Yeah.
That's the one that they have.
Also, I can actually replace the case with metal if I want. It's all completely customizable.
You can replace all of it. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Keychron is they basically make everything replaceable. And they do have a few colors, too. So, like, you could replace that with, the red aluminum case or the blue, whatever the fuck you feel like it.
And I might do the red aluminum. That is a nice case.
I have the red keyboard that they did. That's a 10 keyless. And I do like it. I mean, if color is important to you, they do a pretty good job, but they don't have a huge range either. But the thing is, all the keys are you can switch them out anyways. So, I mean, you can really make a keyboard as fucking crazy as you want. Well,
okay, so this brought the one problem with this keyboard it is backlit. No, it's solvable.
It's not really great backlighting though.
No, the backlighting's fine. The problem is the keys, the letter forms are not transparent. So the lighting is around the key.
Yes.
However, because you can replace the keycaps easily, I was like, oh, no big deal. The one little catch with these that you have to know is they're south-facing RGB LEDs. And the thing about south-facing is you have to get keycaps that work properly with south-facing, or it won't work.
But somebody will have that. I mean, was that hard to solve?
The beautiful part is, by serendipity, if you want, I happened to find that there was somebody on Etsy who makes very nice keycaps, and they work with south-facing, and they make them in the NASA worm font, which I fucking adore. So, as soon as I fucking saw them, I bought them. Instant fucking bought them.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, to the point where they said, okay, we need to know which keyboard to make sure these match exactly. Tell us exactly what keyboard you had. I'm like, that's what I want to hear. So, bingo, I got them. So they will be here.
Okay, so they're not there yet. Okay.
No. Listen, I literally did this within the last couple of days.
I'm glad that the Keychron mostly worked for you.
No, except for the caps, which they're replaceable. So who cares?
Yeah, so I do think that the level of like how much you can switch the keyboard around and customize it to your preference goes a long way for me with that. I mean, you can switch between Mac and Windows, like with all the keys and.
Well, and I'm going to buy that they make the knob can be replaced, so I'm going to replace that knob with a different color, and that's an aluminum knob. So
I like the knob. I do like the knob.
I like the knob too because it's clicky. So that's important for volume because that's what I normally use it for is that. So I will get a white replacement for that one.
Well, there you go. You know what? That is unique. You and I actually agree that Keychron seems to be currently the most, I don't want to say the best, but they're the most adaptable in the market right now for us.
Yeah, like I said, it would have been nice if they made, I wish that 8-Bit Do made their retro keycaps where you could see through them, but they don't, so I can't get those. Otherwise, I would have used those because I love their keycaps. Now, these are nice, and the sound is fine. Or the sound is good. I mean, they have that kind of nice feel to them. They're spudgy or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, so you didn't buy keycaps. You just used what they had.
Oh, no. I bought the keys and the keycaps, but the ones that are default in there are fine. So, honestly, if I wasn't going to replace the keycaps and key switches top to bottom, I'd be fine with this, except for the lighting thing, because that lighting at night, I can't see. I'm not good enough. I'm doing it by memory, and it doesn't quite work. So, and I wish they had done
your vision. I guess your vision's a bit worse than mine then. I can still see them.
If there's enough ambient lighting, I can see it. I don't need much. But if it's really dark, I basically have to turn on all the LEDs in this room, and then I can see it. But if I just want to run in here really quick and type something, it's not enough at night.
I mean, everything has
so I don't always
LEDs
want to activate everything.
Everything has LEDs. Razer, everything Razer makes now has some kind of LED shoved into it.
Yeah, which is not.
Like, oh, you want a mouse pad? We've got an LED in it. You got a speaker? We put some LEDs in it.
Yeah, I know. I don't really need that much.
You got a toilet paper holder? We put some LEDs in it. Honestly, LEDs in a toilet paper holder probably wouldn't be so bad.
And by the way, the reason that this is an extraordinarily specifically small but niche-y detail.
Yeah.
That I actually am happy that the one color I'm interested in is made differently. So the replacement aluminum knob, if you go to the site and read all of the other ones, every other color is made through what's called anodizing electrolysis.
Yes.
Okay? Except for white. You know how they make the white color?
No.
Powder coating.
Oh, you like powder coating.
I love powder coating.
There's a nice feel to it, yeah.
It does. So the one color I want is the only one that they make with powder coating. So, yeah.
Well, I look forward to pictures when it's all done.
Yeah. No, once I've got it on there. That NASA key, I can send you what that looks like.
No. I want to see it when it's complete.
Okay. Yeah, I was really happy because I went to the Keychron Reddit before I bought it, and I was like, okay, is anybody else having the same problem I am? And sure enough, somebody's like, yeah, these are hard to find, but here's somebody who makes good ones on Etsy. Go get it now while the person's
actually, you know what? Send me the link because I want to see what other keycaps they do.
Okay.
But unlike you, I am not going to shop during the show.
Well, I mean, just looking at it is not, if you want to see it. I'll tell you the name. So if everybody, I'll link it in the show notes, but I will also say the name. Let me find it right here, because, like I said, they were universally well reviewed, not only on Etsy but also by people who are not there, which I trust a little bit more, to be honest. So let me go to all inboxes. Let's see. Here it is. Max Keycap. So Etsy. MAXKEYCAP. Let's see if that comes right up. It does. There we go. Max Keycap. Yeah. They do make some wacky versions.
Is
some
this the
far wackier than I need.
NASA front south facing?
That's it. Yes.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah. I like that font. Yeah, the NASA font south facing.
Yeah.
Yes, I've always liked the worm font, and that's the worm font. So...
Yeah, no, I like their A's.
Yeah. And like I said, they actually say, give us the URL of where you bought it. That's how much they want to make sure they give you the right one.
I like their fucking Pokemon keyboard.
See, I'm telling these guys.
That
and like
shit
I
is
said,
nuts.
from reviews not only on Etsy but on Reddit, where people don't fucking hold back. They are one of the top ones as far as this. And there's now your Keychron may not be south facing. You'd have to check. If not, you have more options. Not all of them are.
Honestly,
so
I kind of like the frosted translucent keycaps, but that's just me.
No, I mean, there's lots of good ones on there. Keychron themselves sell custom keycaps, some of which I like. So,
I do like their artisan keycap pullers. That's so silly.
I saw those. That's taking it a little further. Yeah, that's for people who are really into this shit. So that's fine. I'm not criticizing. Did you see they have a Pokemon inverted one too?
No, I didn't see that.
Only the graphic itself is filled in, and the entire key lights up around it.
Oh, that's interesting.
I also like the yellow ones. The ones that are yellow. Those I probably wouldn't even need a goddamn RGB for that. They look like something out of a Subway, where it's these big safety.
Okay.
See those?
Okay, yeah.
They're called low vision. They're made for people who have
My Philco keyboard that I used for years was yellow with big black letters on it like that.
Yeah, well, that's for low vision.
I didn't use it because I couldn't see it. I just liked that it was like yellow keys. So
no, I honestly, if anything else, there's nothing in my setup that goes with yellow. If there was, I'd probably go ahead and get those because that would solve the problem. I would be able to see the letters in low light as long as they're yellow. But nothing that would clash so badly with my color setups. There's just no way I can do yellow. I can't do it. So
yeah, they look like fun. Yeah, I mean, for the longest time for me, it was always like feel. So the what is it?
That's the top thing. That is the top.
Yeah, the Max. Was it the Q1? I think it's called the Q1. The Q1 has a different keyboard layout, and it's a keyboard that's kind of rounded. So when you're typing, you're kind of in the keys. It's kind of a weird layout. I don't know what it's called.
Sure.
Is it OES or OMS or something like that? Keychron, it's like it's one of their setups, but when you use it, it's like there, like your normally your keyboard is like kind of tiered, so you can kind of go up and down the keys really easy. This one is more rounded, so like you kind of, it's almost like a yeah, it's just almost like a it's just rounded up, so when you're typing on it, you feel like you're kind of in a ball. Do you remember that? Actually, do you remember that one-handed keyboard years ago we talked about? That, that literally you would put your hand. It looked like you put your hand in a half pipe.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called, but I remember you showing it to me.
That was really neat. I always wondered if I could learn to use a one-handed keyboard.
Well, there's more than a couple of those, so it's definitely
there's some interesting. I haven't actually looked this up in a long time, but there is some interesting.
There it is. It's the Maltron. There's more than one.
It's called the Maltron Ergonomic. That's what it was. That thing was fucking cool. But yeah, there's some really interesting one-handed fucking keyboards now. Holy shit!
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna have to investigate this. I don't know why I like that idea, but
listen, if I thought I could, if I was, all right, I should say it this way: if I was willing to put in the time that it would take for me to figure out how to use it, there's a lot of reasons why it makes sense. I think ergonomically it would be better. I think there's a lot of reasons why it would probably be better. But I'm not going to, and I'm not going to pretend I'm going to, and I'm not going to try to force myself to.
It's a weird layout, though. I'm looking at some of these, and they are not QWERTY.
Well, it's just, you have to relearn how to type. And I barely know how to type now. So I'm not going to, at the past halfway point of my life, I'm not going to relearn to type.
The other problem, too, is like, my wife has a split keyboard because of like a shoulder injury, so she can't have
also very
the mouse.
Popular. Keychron makes a couple of those, too.
They do, yeah. She can't have a keyboard. She can't have the mouse pad on the right. It's got to be in the middle. So she's got the mouse pad between the two sides of the keyboard, right? And she types in it like a bandit. But when I try to type anything on her computer, my two hands are almost like they're calling out to her. Okay, now you type that. Okay, now you type this, and like it's so stunted. Sure. Yeah, and it's the whole I can't switch back and forth between what I normally do and this. Yeah. I get it. But yeah, there is some interesting shit out here. Mm-hmm. Oh, it has an integrated mouse in it too. Interesting. Yeah, whatever. Look at this another time.
There's lots of stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, granted, I was just telling you before the podcast that I just find myself having less and less use for all these advanced computer features.
Well, but the thing is, I think you and I have a similar thing, and some other people of our age, haha, coincidence, that the actual core tech itself is boring, and now it's all the stuff around it that becomes interesting. It's how you interact. It's the accessories. It's the casing, the keycaps, it's all the things that, because the core tech itself is so refined, it's boring now. It's all commoditized. So what has to become interesting is how you interact with it, and that's where the interesting, weird stuff happens. Yeah, exactly.
The face of it.
So, that's I think that's very common, and I don't think you're alone there. So, now the other thing where I've had a bit of a journey to, okay, this is what I want type of place, is people who have been listening for a long time may have noticed that the sound of the show has been kind of meandering about a little bit lately. It, for a while, probably got obnoxiously too loud and over-engineered. And, previously it was a little bit quiet. And that's because I had a fundamental misunderstanding about certain things in terms of audio. And I have now gotten an education from several people who are friends of the show that have helped me figure out how this stuff actually works, correcting some basic misunderstandings that a visual artist would naturally have about audio. So, there was a bit there where I was using some settings because the way it was explained by more than one party, so I have no reason to doubt the veracity, and then I started paying attention myself to things I was listening to, and I started to pick it up, that there is a generally agreed upon sound now. Snedecor would know what I'm talking about. He's actually the only person I didn't talk about this because I always feel like I'm bothering him with this. And plus, he does more of like music engineering, and I didn't know whether this was really something that he would.
Oh no, he's honestly he's doing more movie and TV now than ever.
Yeah, and that's just it's a different skill. So like I said, and plus, I never know if he's on the Alps or whatever. So it's fine. That's not a criticism by any means. I just knew people who I was talking to at the time that had the idea and that did podcasts like ours. So I was like, okay. And so there is a generally agreed upon kind of standard podcast sound that most people use because, and this does have a logic to it, you have to be able to almost account for any listening situation, including the shittiest possible one, aka lowest common denominator. So the free pack-in headphones with the old iPhones that somebody's still using a decade later, where the nuance of sound is probably not going to be evident. And so what a lot of shows do is they there's a term called bricking, which I had heard but wasn't aware of what it actually was. And bricking is if you look at a sound form or sound wave, I don't know, whatever. When you look at sound in a program, there's kind of peaks and valleys to it. And when you see it as basically one big solid bar of sound, which honestly most podcasts, if you look at them, are, that's called bricking. And the way it's commonly achieved to some degree is you manipulate the sound for the input, whatever you say, you have your vocals. You take those and you take all the dynamic range and you, like a fucking one of those ShamWow, you squeeze all the nuance out so that everything is basically the same, meaning that when I'm talking very quietly, it's basically at the same level as talking really loud, and it's all the same. And they level it out and slam the volume all the way to the ceiling.
That's weird.
That's brick.
Is that what we sound like now?
Well, okay, we did for a little bit, but because I was trying to make this sound the standard podcast way, and I very quickly figured out that I hated it because
it sounds weird to me.
Well, it's not. The thing is, we probably sounded weird to people who listen to a lot of podcasts because previously we had what I'll call the full dynamic range, and I was airing. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question real quick.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you know anybody who's been doing this as long as we have at this point?
Podcasts? No.
Yeah.
Sound? Yes.
Oh, no, I'm sure sound, but
no.
I just think it's funny that we've basically sounded some level of us for so long that suddenly it's I find it amusing that you were trying to like.
No. This has bugged me for a very long time, but I didn't quite know.
You didn't know how to fix it.
How to approach it. And I was misunderstanding the key vocabulary involved. So I thought I was fixing it. And what I was doing was I was grossly erring on the side of being way too low. So I wanted to retain. I misunderstood what the meters meant. Fundamentally, this is the core problem. Is I thought, because when you look at, like in Audacity, if you look at something, there's meters, and they generally have numbers, and there's a 0, and then it goes plus one thing and minus one thing.
Have you already done this?
Well, yes, because
so if I listen to the show,
if you were to listen to a show from a year ago and the last probably 2 or 3, well, I would listen to this one. So if you were to listen to this one, which is 945, but I think I've done it for the last 2, 944 and 943. However, I think with 943, I hadn't activated the setting on my microphone that I now have enabled. Yeah.
We don't actually have numbers on the shows on the main page.
We don't have no. When you download it, it has a number.
Oh, does it? Well,
yeah, I don't put the numbers.
So is that Murder Burger that we're talking about?
No, you would want. No, it would be this one. Murder Burger is it? Yeah, 944.
Right.
944.
I'm just going to listen to this really quick while you go on.
Yeah. So if you look at a meter, and this is titanically boring or overly obvious, depending on whether you have no interest in audio or you have a ton of interest in audio. So sorry, I'm falling on either side of the fence. I assumed, because 0 is the far end. At the far right in Audacity is a 0 on volume. And I thought that when the meter hit red and got close to that 0, that meant the audio was clipping.
God,
and then I was told...
hate hearing myself. Anyway, sorry.
No, I see what you mean. Me too, which makes this worse.
You've kind of like... I can see what you mean by squeezing it to it's all in this one range. It feels like it's auditorily consistent.
Yes. So basically I thought that by going towards the red on that 0, I was blowing out the speakers. And then I was told, no. You cannot clip. Well, you can, but you have to really work at it. Clipping is on the input. I would be clipping at the mic before I ever got to that program. So that's where they were saying, no, if your meters aren't red on the mic, you're not clipping. So what I thought was clipping was in fact never clipping. So I was making things very quiet. And the problem with that is, if somebody's listening to more than one show, and they're listening to ours and they turn the volume up and then they forget, the next show comes on and suddenly it's like AC/DC at 3,000 decibels blowing them out of their desk. And I don't want that, because I've had that happen and it pisses me off. So what I decided was, okay, there's a middle ground here. There's a middle ground where I also didn't want to just lose all of the dynamism, I think that's a word, of our voices. That is something apparently nobody cares about anymore. Well, you know what? Then let them do that. If my interest was to do what everybody did, then I would be doing YouTube videos where I'm like, you'll never believe what Apple did in the latest version of iOS. Click here to find out. Like, subscribe, and smash that review button.
Wait, I know. What do you mean by the dynamism of our voice? Give me an explanation.
Right, so dynamic range. Yeah. When you speak, the high points and the low points are the dynamic range, the highest points and the lowest points of your voice.
Yes.
So speaking, that's where a lot of people complain about modern music. It's all at just the high. There's no dynamic range. There's no variance. It's all just loud now. Like rock music is all just the same fucking volume. It all sounds like White Zombie. Yeah. A lot of people have been bitching about that for a long time. Now I really understand what they were talking about. So when you compress something, compression. Did you ever notice there are podcasts where the person, even when they're talking quietly, seems very loud?
Yes.
Even though they shouldn't be? That's compression. Compression basically squeezes everything into the mid-range and then pushes the volume way up, and that's the bricking thing. Now, I'm explaining this in broad terms, so if you're an engineer,
hey, I'm not an audio guy, so you're explaining it to me.
So, let's say that max compression is eliminating any of that variance. Therefore, a shout and a whisper are the same volume to your ear. Right?
Yeah.
And what we had was 0 compression for a while, which meant that the really quiet parts were legitimately hard to hear, and the loud parts could be overpowering if you had your volume set for the mid-range.
And then there were some loud parts, weren't there?
And there were. And so that's where compression is good, because it pulls them closer so that the variance is less, meaning that your volume doesn't have to be quite as... You've had this, I'm sure, with like streaming shows where certain parts are really low and certain parts are really high. That's what we were. So what I've done is I've hit this kind of mid-range where I'm compressing a bit to iron out the highest peaks and the lowest valleys and bring them in, but not so much that we're losing the texture of our voices. So to someone listening on $5 headphones, we're going to sound as shitty as we did before. But somebody who's listening with good speakers or good headphones, we'll get a little more of our actual voices. And that, to me, is the best place to be. I'm not looking for it to be like you're in the room with us, which some podcasts do that thing. You ever notice some people sound like they're basically about to swallow their microphones? Like, I'm not looking for that.
This is the whole like, erotic sounding thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like they're right there.
And compression will do that. There is a setting on this microphone, which I'm not going to enable because
we can make it all sound like that. It'd all be
it'll sound horrible. Yeah. But I had no compression because this microphone has a specific feature that is unique among microphones where it has a built-in compressor. So I've got the first level enabled just to smooth out the input so that I have to do less work after the fact, less massaging than I normally would. So I can use very low-level compression, and then I'm just amplifying and then putting a limiter and doing some noise elimination in the back. Like, very simple stuff. It's like a 3-step process. But this, I think, is going to get us to where... the only trick I got to figure out is I think I'm doing fine with yours, but you have a different microphone, so I may need to play with those settings a bit.
I'm louder. I just listened to it before, and I'm louder than you.
Yeah, I don't care about that. That's
but you and I also have such a different voice. You've got a much higher... Yeah. Kind of tone is, it's more New York, whereas mine is like I'm starting to sound like fucking Dargo from Farscape.
Here's the interesting part. You are in fact not louder than me because I've looked at it.
It just sounds like it to me. Yeah.
Because I think your microphone is
not compressing.
Your microphone is doing that shaping
Yeah.
And so I probably need to dial yours back a little bit, but honestly, I don't care. That's what I'm saying is I'm not going to go crazy with this stuff.
Are you happy with how it sounds?
Well,
are you happy enough?
I have sent the recordings to the people who know what they're talking about, and they've said, yes, this is much better. All right. That's all I care about.
Are you happy?
Yeah. Well,
hey, if you're happy, I'm happy.
See? Yeah, I know. But that's what I'm saying is the first advice I was getting, which I'm not going to say it was bad advice, but it was based on do what everybody else is doing. You want to sound like, and I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. I first I thought, yeah, I should do that. And I'm like, no. Just because everybody does it doesn't mean it's the right way to do it.
I would fuck with it and make it sound like nobody else's. Why not? Give people a unique, weird experience. But that's me.
Well, no. In fairness, I don't. Like I said, I don't like the idea that people were getting blown back when our show went off.
That.
That's
don't
not
ruin
good.
Don't ruin their speakers. Yeah. But yeah.
So that's where I've tried to hit this middle ground where the volume is good without sacrificing how our voices actually sound. Because like you, I hate my voice. I don't like hearing it. I like to talk, but I don't like to hear myself.
I didn't used to. In the beginning, I didn't mind it, like the first couple of years. But like now I just can't. I can't hear myself. It just feels weird. Yeah,
and that was I was struggling with that.
You know, the other thing I can't listen to the podcast is if I'm listening to a podcast of us, which is rare. Hearing you on my headphones sounds like hearing you when I'm talking to you, and it gives me the weirdest feeling.
Well, that's good. That means the sound quality is good.
Like I'm having a conversation with you, but you can't hear me.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's what I want. Strange. That's how it should sound. That's how it should sound.
Like just now, when I was listening to it while you were talking, I had two Joes talking at me.
Good.
And it was weird. So
see, whereas if I think if you listen to an older one, I'd be a lot quieter.
Oh, I mean, yeah. If you listen to a lot of our older shows,
No, I don't mean that old. I mean a month ago, old. Like if you went back to 9/25, whatever that one is. If you went back to January and listened to one, I think you'd notice the volume for both of us is very low. And again, if you're only listening to our show, which I don't believe anybody is, then it's fine. But if you're listening to several, as I usually do and most people do, where you just kind of put them in a playlist and you just go through them, it is ridiculous that somebody would be listening to ours and have to dial it up and then suddenly their ears are destroyed.
If I found out tomorrow that you'd never posted any of this online and it's all going into your file in your computer, right? I'd be okay with it. I think it was funny. Like I almost have, at this point, we live in such a weird world. I kind of half expect that sometimes. Or you're going to call me up and be like, hey, you know how we were doing the podcast and we were recording everything and I told you we were putting it out there. I didn't really. It's like, I've just been putting it in my folder. I have a folder that's just like, do not delete on my computer,
Listen, man, if I was doing this much work for something that never got posted, you'd have to commit me. Because then there's a problem.
Oh, I wouldn't commit bad. You. I think it's charming.
I would. Oh, that's not charming. That's mental deficiency of some kind. I mean, listen, it really is.
Life, you need entertainment in life, okay? Well, if this is the thing that entertains you, then so be it.
Well, and the irony of it is that our numbers seem to be going up.
Why?
Because I don't know. Because I got one of those Libsyn now is letting you do injectable podcasts.
I don't know what that means.
It means I have to look into it, but I don't think I would do it.
Or?
Well, it's like every so often we would say, and now we're going to take a quick break. And you leave like 3 seconds of silence, and then someone comes in and goes, Verizon Wireless gives you the best possible blah, 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 blah for your money. And then it kicks
Are there
back.
ads now on our show?
There are not. I'm saying. No.
Okay.
Here's something I'll tell everybody. Yeah. I will never make a change like that without making it very clear that I'm even thinking of it.
I just would have been fuck off surprised.
No. So the reason I thought of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, not thought of it. The reason I bring it up is because I got this email from Libsyn saying you can monetize your show better, and I was like, and they were like, all you need is at least.
Hey, I've also stood my ground that if you found a way to make money for yourself through the show, I would also stand by it because you do all the work.
Oh my God. No, don't do that. Jeez. I just got an update warning from one of the sound things. No.
Don't update.
Don't do that.
Don't update.
Skip. Thank you. It's fine. But I don't think it would actually affect this, but I'm trying to find. Basically, it was a typical email, but it actually quoted a number, which they don't usually do. And they said, oh, you have to have at least this many downloads a month. And so I'm like, yeah, we probably don't even have that. I'm like, holy shit, why do we have so many downloads in a month? So according to this.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just looking here. So it's saying from February 4th to May 4th, which is a month. 4th. That's a month. Oh, sorry, no, it's 2 months. That's February, March, and May. So let me actually dial it in a little more because I'm just curious about this. I'm just curious now. We have 1,200 downloads in a month.
Is that a lot?
Now, that's the IAB statistics, which are far more restrictive than what are called unique. Now, if I go to the unique ones, not that I really understand the fucking difference, let me tell you, because I don't. All right, 1,300. So actually, that's good. Those numbers are close. So I'm actually happy about that. It's only off by 100. That means there's not a drastic difference. And so I think their requirement was 300 a month, and I didn't even think we had that, and yet we seem to have more. And I really, the only thing funny. I can actually attribute, the only legitimate thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is exactly that thing I was talking about where I'm like, I am not going to attempt in any way to do what anybody else is doing. That I've said for a long time, it's one of the reasons I don't look at numbers, I don't look at that YouTube bullshit, whatever. I think once you start chasing that, you're going to lose. Because it's all just slop like AI stuff. It all is the same. Yeah, when you're making the same thing, because there's a couple of people that I've followed for a long time.
No, this is what happens in books, right? So like some advice they give new writers is, look what people are writing in the market, write something like that. Right. And I'm always like, no, be you. Yeah. Try to create your own unique flavor. I mean, listen, sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes it does. And it's better off, you're better off failing at doing a thing and doing your unique flavor of it rather than trying to do what everybody else is doing. And then generically fail. Who wants to generically fail?
That's exactly that might be show title. I was copyright with, but maybe it'll be failing generically. I kind of like failing generically. Yeah, that's got a nice ring to it. Copyright with was okay, but I like failing generically. Let me save that title really quick. Save. No, that's I wouldn't have been able to phrase it that way, but that's the exact phrase. Is if I'm going to do nothing with this, I'd rather do it my way, nothing wise, and not be copying, whatever. Because as you said, I can think of 2 podcasts that I listen to faithfully that are as old or older than ours. 2. That's it. Which is not to say... Well,
because a lot of people got into this for money, and then stuff rose and fell. I mean, God, what's this? Is Mysterious Universe still going?
I actually thought about that the other day. I think he is, but he had money coming in, too.
Yeah, well, he was better at this. Let's see. He was better at this, and he had a thing, and he's delightful to listen to.
Well, he has gone a bit off the rails, I will say that. He went hardcore anti-vax, so...
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know, it happens. That's okay. Yeah, no, he's, well, if it's still him, is it still him? Let me see if there's an about thing. This is a very professional-looking website. He may have been acquired. I mean, it's all the same content about us. Oh, it happens.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine what this would look like if someone tried to acquire us? I don't understand what you would acquire.
Actually, wait a minute. That can't be true. Is that true?
What?
Wait a second. Have we been doing this longer than him?
No.
Hold on. I think we might have. Hold on. Archive. When is our first show? 2005, right? Isn't it 05? 06 February?
Oh, my God. It's been 20 years?
Hold on. Oh, yeah.
Don't say
next
that.
year it will be.
That makes me feel
old. Wow. We're the same age. Well, that's funny. 2006, 2006. Yeah, same year. Wow.
Weird.
Yeah. Wait, that says show number... Yeah, show number 1 was Weird. February 28th, 06. So we are 19 years. Wow. You know what's interesting, though?
Yeah.
There's no names on here. Hold on. I'm curious.
Oh, if it's him?
If it's somebody else. Let's see here. Let me just see here.
Well, can you just... Hold on.
Oh wow! No, there's video. It is. He's
he's doing video now as well.
Well, I mean,
there you go. Well, that's the thing. Everyone, you start as a podcast, and then everything graduates to we want video and this and that, and it's like everyone's chasing television.
Well, I mean, it made because I didn't like the idea of it for a long time either, but it does make sense with movie reviews because we're so often talking about the visual parts of the form. So, not for us. I don't think we're ever going to do it, but me and Doug doing it makes sense because we're focusing.
We've already talked about this. We'd be terrible at it because I think at one point you were like, you actually have to look at the screen like you're paying attention. I won't.
You know what?
Actually, you know what? I realized I don't stare at my screen at all when we're talking. My camera is actually off to the left, so I'm constantly staring off to the side.
Oh, that's interesting. No, mine's dead center. I've got my camera right where I just have to remember to look at it.
I'm off
to
the side.
Nobody but me does that. Nobody but me does that. I've noticed that's a thing with me. That's me. Because I watch all these other big professional things. None of these fucking people are looking at the camera for long, and I cannot not do it. I have this very specific thing where if you watch the Doug and I episodes,
you get uptight, don't you, about it? Like you just like you're trying really hard not to.
Here's something you'll know. I'm going to point this out in case nobody noticed this before. When I am done talking and when I start talking, I am staring at the camera with my mouth closed almost all the time to make sure. So like I make sure that before somebody, like when I stop talking and I then let Doug start talking, I'm looking at the camera and I wait for him to say a couple things and then I look somewhere else because now I know that's where I'm going to cut to him. I don't like not looking at the camera, but I don't think anybody cares about that shit. I don't think anyone else does.
Hey, listen, it's these little things that make something. I mean,
I know.
That was that was Steve Jobs' thing, wasn't it? That he was like, he noticed details that other people didn't notice.
Yeah, I'd like to read about that, but I guess in that facet,
Well, I'm going to put an end to our meta conversation because we've talked about it long enough.
That was the end of it. So I think that's all I had as an opener anyway.
We should talk about other things for the because apparently somebody's listening. And we're gonna do what we normally do. We're gonna review a movie that's been out for so long it doesn't fucking matter. So
you don't have anything else? We're going straight to the movie.
No, straight into it. Yeah, no, we're going straight to Assassin's Creed.
Oh, got it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to play the sound clip just because it has no. I cannot imagine where else it would be used, but it's so goddamn funny. I just want to play it.
Go for it.
Well, they need me on the bridge. Crappers in your hands, fuckface.
I just love that fucking clip.
What is that from?
No, it's not from anything. It's a woman who does reviews on YouTube, and she does Star Trek reviews where she makes fun of like all different episodes, and her voice stuff for the different characters. That's her Janeway. Oh my god! When she said that and it was clean audio, I'm like, Alison Pregler's her name. She is fucking fantastic. So anyway, go on.
So we have a movie review that Joe and I watched together recently, but this is something that Joe had seen and actually reviewed on the show years ago. And I just watched it, and I don't even know why I watched it. It was kind of a weird thing that it came up. But I started talking to Joe about it, and it was like, oh no, we should talk about this on the show. He's like, because I wanted to talk to you about this. So I was like, okay. So I saw the Fassbender Assassin's Creed movie, and didn't hate it. I want to put that up front. I didn't hate it. I mean, we recently talked about how I actually think Fassbender is a really great actor. And he's really good in this, and he's playing two different people, which is quite funny. We're not going to get into the story of this because you've reviewed it before, and this is an older movie. I just wanted to talk about some of the weird details. What's that?
I guess when we talked about the trailer for the movie, the title of that show was Fassassin's Bender. What the fuck title was that?
I don't know. That's all you. I don't know what you're up to.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So anyway, but I want to talk about it because I watched it and I got this sense that someone had tried to make an art film, like an art house movie of Assassin's Creed. But I realized that when that movie came out, there wasn't as much Assassin's Creed now as there was, right? That's like before Black Flag and like all those. Isn't that right?
No, this was, I want to say it was after the third one, but I'm going to look.
It's after Brotherhood, right? It's after bringing
I think so.
Ezio to an end.
I believe so.
What's weird about this movie is that I find it funny they didn't try to use any of the characters from the...
Oh, no. I'm incorrect. This was after almost all of them up to Origins.
Really?
Yeah, so basically when the movie's from 2016, now let's assume it filmed in 2015 probably.
Yeah.
So at that time, all the Ezios were out. 3, Black Flag, Rogue, which is one of my favorites, Unity, and Syndicate had all come out.
I always forget Syndicate.
So this was after period 1.
Yeah, so the thing is that they had so many storylines to pull from. It's so weird to me that they decided to make up their own character and kind of rewrite the Assassin's Creed story. Right? Like, it just feels weird because you bought the rights to it. You have all this source material. Why not just do Ezio or Altair or one of those?
No, if I remember, and it has been a while, but I believe the intent was that they wanted to have this movie takes place in the game universe, but is not interfering with the events. And I think their idea
this is a different Apple.
Well, it's the same Apple, but at a different time.
Different
it's okay because the plot of the old one was 1492 and Altair was he was before that, wasn't he?
Altair was 11 something, I think.
Yeah, it's before that. So what I'm saying is the Apple is the same, but all the events don't interfere. And the idea was that there was going to be a series of movies and the games would keep going. And at some point, you imagine there would be crossover. I mean, it would.
And the thing is, I actually did enjoy the movie. But my biggest problem with the movie, oddly, was that I wanted more of it. That I felt like the movie needed like an extra half hour to give us time in because the Fassbender gets to the facility and they put him in the machine and it feels like he's in this facility for like a day or two. Whereas like I wanted him to be there for a while. I wanted you to show me that it took a while for all this shit to kind of bleed over. And the other thing is to give us more time in the past, because what they do is they put all the plot in the present and then they put all the action in the past. And there's very little plot in the past. And so you don't get a sense of these assassins living in their time. Whereas, like, I was saying to my wife, I was like, they could have made an Assassin's Creed movie and just have it be the assassins in the time of the assassins and completely cut out the Abstergo stuff. And I still would have watched it because I would have been fascinated. Because, I mean, that's kind of where they're headed toward now, where, like, the modern day stuff becomes less and less important. Because you're like, I want to be an assassin pirate, or I want to be an assassin in ancient Egypt. And it's like, yeah. I mean, but to their credit, they did do cool shit with the present day, which is what we'd always wanted them to do. They just kind of, they gave us more of the present day than we wanted. And then they still didn't give us enough. I mean, I guess if you're going to review a movie badly, I think it's the best bad review you can get is I wanted more of it rather than I wanted less of this movie. You know what I mean? Like that's a terrible bad review. But for someone to show me like I watched it and I wanted more, like I'd rather leave the movie wanting. And I actually liked a lot of this is so weird, but I actually liked a lot of the little weird things that they added. Like, when I first saw that the what's it called, the fucking machine they put him in, the Animus. The Animus wasn't like a big bed thing that you lay in and you put your head in it. That it was this giant gimbal arm, and then they attach these electrodes to your spine, and then you physically act out this thing that you're communicating with. I thought that was a neat idea because it was like, okay, so now you can kind of build the muscle memory so that you there's a physical connection to the past, and it would explain why these people suddenly become like, really good assassins by the end of the movie. I like that. I thought it was neat, and I don't normally like it when they just turn around and they randomly change shit, But yeah, it just feels it feels like they cut a half hour out of this movie that would have been good for non-Assassin's Creed people to understand what the fuck was going on. Because like I watched it with my kids because it's PG-13, and my son liked it, but he was kind of lost. And like he wants to play the Assassin's Creed games, but he was kind of like, what the hell's going on here? And I was like, man, if I have to explain this, it's like maybe they didn't do a good job. Maybe we needed just a little more time with this. But I mean, Fassbender is fantastic, and I have to admit the fact that at no point when they were in the past did they speak English, I was very impressed with that ballsy move. Because normally what happens is you get the whole Hunt for Red October effect, where they're like, okay, we're going to transition now from Russian to English, and you understand that we're all really speaking Russian, but we're speaking English now, so you know what we're saying, right? You get one of those transitions. Whereas they're speaking Spanish the whole time, and I got to say,
yeah,
Fassbender's Spanish accent was actually pretty good. Yeah. I was surprised. But maybe that's why they didn't want to have more plot in the past, because they didn't want to They didn't want to test just how far they could stretch Fassbender's accent.
I watched this again. I don't remember. I mean, it was a while ago. I want to say.
Oh, you watched it. Hold on. So you watched it once, and then you watched it again?
I did watch it again because they added it to some service. At one of the points where I had all the services, I know. Most of them. I
rewatched it. That's a good review for you. For you to actually go back and watch a movie again.
Yeah, because I remembered liking it more than disliking it, and so I rewatched it. But this had to be 10 years ago or so. It was a while.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember when I rewatched it, I was like, okay, yeah, this is not a great movie, but this is a fun movie. And the thing I remember about it is I thought, and I still think, that what they could have done was they could have just had all the sci-fi, present day, whatever stuff in the movies with minimal back stuff, and then the games were where you played through the memories. I mean, you would still have them in the you still have them, but they could have done more of the storytelling. Because the thing is that there's this, at least this is what the company has always said, Ubisoft has always said, is that there's this split. And that most of the gameplay audience just wants to play as assassins in the back, and they don't care about the present day stuff.
Yeah, and because of that, the present day story gets kind of lost.
Right, and that's where the movies could get into that, because The Matrix did that kind of multimedia thing, and so apparently did Pitch Black for a little bit there, which I sort of forgot, but I was watching a video about it. Holy shit, were they doing a lot of stuff with Pitch Black to try to make that a bigger thing when it went into Chronicles of Riddick. But in any event, and I remembered that they said that the thing where the guy does the leap of faith, that's real. That's not digital. It was the tallest free fall in something like 30 years. I remember they made a big deal that they wanted that leap of faith to be real. And so they had a guy do it. It's not now of course it'd be CG. Would they, except unless it was Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, then he'd do it. But, it's not digital. So they were trying to minimize the digital stuff.
Oddly, it didn't feel like an American movie. There was something
and that's another plus.
Very European about it.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know if it was made in America. Was it made in America? Let's see. First of several. It was planned to be first of several films.
It was, I do know that it was supposed to be part of like a bunch of movies.
Because Ubisoft is a French company. Where did they actually film
Well, the movie it takes place in Spain. So
Malta, London, Spain, and Pinewood. It's not made in America at all.
There you go. Yeah.
That's
it doesn't feel like an American movie.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I like I said, I enjoyed it. I just walked away wanting more and saying, yeah, give me more. I mean, it's sad because I know there isn't going to be more. I mean, they tried and it didn't work. But I hope they don't. I hope they don't give up, because I think the Assassin's Creed material is ripe. I just feel like, I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong, but maybe they should try and make some of the games that are already out there so that they're kind of giving you little bits of like highlights of a game that you already played. But my wife is saying to me that part of what she thinks makes Assassin's Creed so great is the fact that you actually get to interact with these beautiful vistas. You actually get to be in these places.
Well, and that's what they said, is the game people wanted to do that.
No, I know, but in the movies, I feel like I feel like we needed more time in the past, downtime. Because the thing is, whenever you go to the past in that movie, it's because there's about to be some sort of over-the-top action sequence. And don't get me wrong, the scene where they're escaping the city, that is fantastic. I mean, that is a fucking balls-to-the-wall action sequence where they're just like jumping across buildings, falling through windows, fucking fighting here, fighting there. I mean, it is very well done. But I wanted some downtime. I wanted to see some of these characters in this world in that time period when they're not in, and with all of the stuff with Ezio, a huge portion of that game with Ezio is Ezio and his family and the relationship he has with them and how important it is for him to protect them, and I feel like, and that's one of the things that kind of draws Desmond out, is that Desmond has this connection to this idea that he wants a family, because by being Ezio, he sees this connection that Ezio has. And Ezio's, in Brotherhood, one of Ezio's final acts, I think, is the fact that he himself wants to stop doing this so much and have a family. You know, and that's why when he finds the apple in the grave with Altair, that's where it stays. You know, because he's out. I mean, that's basically Ezio bowing out of this race. You know, so yeah, I don't know if it would work that people would get angry and be like, that's not my Ezio, that's not my Altair. But I mean, those games are so old now that I wonder if they could get away with it. But also, I'm not following what they're doing currently, because the thing with Assassin's Creed games is now they're all over the fucking place. Man, they've got Assassins in Japan, and they've got Assassins here and there, and then I don't even know what the overall storyline is anymore.
Oh, well, I mean, I only know that the guy from the first, 4 or 5 is dead. That's about... The real world guy is dead.
Desmond's dead.
That's all... Yeah, Desmond's dead. That's all I really know.
Why?
Because I didn't play... he got killed in... Maybe it was Unity? He was betrayed by somebody and killed. Yeah, that's okay. It's fine. Let's see here. Where's the... Or is it telling you? Okay, is there a thing that tells me... Storyline, here we go.
He dies at the end of Assassin's Creed 3 after sacrificing himself to save the world. His body is later recovered by Abstergo.
I didn't play 3 either.
Yeah, his body is later recovered by Abstergo, and his genetic memory is uploaded into their Animus database. While his physical body is deceased, his consciousness continues to exist within the Gray, a virtual afterlife created by the Isu.
Oh, well, yeah, those are the first people or whatever. The here it is. Story arcs. The first 5 main games focus on Desmond Miles. Okay, so that would be through 3. Correct. That's the first 4. First one, the 3 Ezios, and then 3. Right. Okay. And then, starting with Black Flag, Abstergo has refined the Animus to allow anyone to experience memories from the genetic material of another person. Oh, so see, they took away the limitation that you had to be related. See, I'm not sure.
That gets into kind of weird territory now.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, then you're basically just doing. You're just doing, memory reconstruction.
Virtual trips.
I mean, there's nothing special then about anybody.
Yeah, I liked the idea that they had to find the right person.
By the time of Unity, Abstergo has been distributing the Animus technology via a video game console called the Helix, tapping into an extensive unaware player base to help them locate the remains of varied... Okay, that I like. That sounds like a big company. Player characters. Yeah, that's right, because you played as kind of an anybody. That's right. I do remember that from those two, the Syndicate and Unity. I didn't play Unity, but Syndicate had that, where you were walking around in first-person mode around the Abstergo company, which was interesting. I actually kind of liked that you were first-person in the company and then third-person in the game. That was kind of an interesting thing. New storyline introduced in Origins. Layla Hassan. Still remains... Right, this is the one I liked. Was she is rescued by William Miles. Oh, is that Desmond's father? I think that's Desmond's father. Odyssey, Layla recovers the Spear of Leonidas, from which she extracts the DNA of Leonidas' grandchildren. That's the 2 people you play in there. Then she locates the Staff of... Boy, everybody's locating a different thing to locate a different thing. The Staff of Hermes Trismegistus, another piece of Eden. Okay. Cassandra relinquishes the staff, so she's still alive. Layla, who is prophesied to one day restore balance to the world. And then Cassandra dies. Valhalla, Earth is facing yet another disaster, as its magnetic field has been continually strengthening since Desmond's activation of the global Aurora Borealis device 8 years prior. I missed that part. Layla exhumes Elvor Varens, I can't pronounce that, a 9th century Viking and her memories, learns of an Isu temple in Norway. Oh, that must have been a scenic place. Goes to the temple, enters the Grey. That's the thing you were talking about, where she meets Desmond and Basim, who I think I played in the reincarnation of Loki. Oh, yeah, that's right. Loki's in this. I forgot Loki was in it. Basim, I think is how you're supposed to say it. Basim helps Layla stop the disaster and then abandons her and escapes back to the real world. Oh, wow, Basim's a dick. In Mirage, which I played, that's it. Basim's DNA to relive his memories as a hidden one. Okay, I remember about that. And he's a reborn Isu, and that's where it ends as far as the main ones. I don't know what the new one does. The new one is Shadows. Does that have any of the modern stuff? Let's see. I'm curious. Did they just abandon it in time? No.
Oh, I love that it's still connected. They haven't completely... Oh, have they broken now?
Well, the Templars and the Assassins still... but apparently in the new game, there doesn't appear to be any mention of the new stuff.
Oh, there's no present day?
Then. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Maybe they finally said, fuck it. We don't need the present day stuff. Let's just play
remember
in the
they said it's all going to move into an online hub. But see, that's where the movies could have taken over. The movies could be telling the story. And then you play the games to be in those settings. That makes sense to me, is storytelling. Now, unless, of course, you love Metal Gear Solid, most players don't want to sit through 9 hours of cutscenes. I adore it. But that's because
I don't need 9 hours, but I do like well-done cutscenes that then add to the story.
Oh, no. I think in Metal Gear Solid 4, there's one point where you don't play for 40-something minutes.
Oh, I know that. I'm saying that's too much. Like that. Yeah, I know that's too much. I agree.
Not when it's as bonkers as Metal Gear Solid gets, man. Then I'm okay with it.
That does feel like too much. But otherwise, yeah, I like good writing. I like good storytelling, and some games don't have that. But I mean, different games are also, they provide you with different kind of things. There's some games that are all action. There's some games that, and the Assassin's Creed games have a lot of good action, but they also had kind of an interesting story. I mean, Ezio's story in the past is fascinating, and Desmond's story in the present always felt like it was like about to get to something interesting, and then they just almost didn't know what to do with him. Like, I always said that, I'm sure you could go back and find this, that Watch Dogs should have been the present day version of what was going on. If you'd had a game, right, where half of it was playing in the past as an assassin and the other half was playing as like one of the Watch Dogs characters, you can't tell me that wouldn't have been fucking amazing. You wouldn't have known where to stop. What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have made sense. I would have liked it.
That would have been great, because then you would have been a kind of assassin in the future, but you would have been a different kind, because you would have been more of a tech. The Assassin's Order has changed. Whereas, otherwise, they just never seem to know what to do with Desmond. So you had these, like when he escapes from the facility, you had these few scenes where he's like, you're kind of running around a little bit or something like that, but they didn't really know what to do with him. And you always felt that. We were like, are we going to get to something interesting now? Anyway. So, getting back to the original point, I did enjoy the movie, and I did think that it was a decent attempt at it, but it did feel very art house. You just go back to it's the joke. It's the A24 movie, right? It almost felt like an A24 movie version of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. And
honestly, I kind of respect that. I just felt like there just needed to be some more to the movie. Just to spell it, just to bring everybody along, because there were enough people. My wife knows enough about it through me, but my kids didn't really know, and my son was like, "What is going on?" And they don't really explain the bleed over, I think, enough. Where it's like the more you interact, the more you kind of, you kind of intermingle, and they become part of you. Like, there's all this stuff in there, and the thing about his mother essentially killing herself for the Order, that made sense to me. But it didn't make sense to everybody else. And when that happens in the movie, I was like, oh, this is a key moment. This is the moment where he realizes that his dad did not kill his mom. Right? Where he sees what happens in the past, where the one assassin basically kills herself to save the Order. It's like, okay, I get it. But maybe they needed to just, explain it a little more. Which, not for me necessarily, but otherwise, I just wanted more time in the facility with the Animus and see more of the past. Those action sequences were great, but I just kept waiting for them to finally be over so I could be like, okay, now what's going on, And the other thing is, it'd be interesting because in the movie, you kind of get a sense that the assassins are zealots. Like, they don't come off necessarily good. Like, they're and not that the Templars are better, but the whole thing, it's interesting how you have the woman, Marianne Cotillard. Her character wants to put an end to violence, right, using the apple. And she is annoyed because her father then basically says, oh no, we're going to use it to wipe out the assassins, which is really what we wanted all the time, right? And then we'll control the world. And that annoys her, right? And I like this idea that what she really wanted was to find a cure to violence. But the implication is that, that the assassins are genetically violent, right? Like, that was something they kind of threw out there, and then they didn't really go anywhere with it necessarily. And when you hear the things that the assassins say, where they're like, everything is permissible, when everything is fucked up, that kind of thing, they come off a bit zealoty, and I wanted them to either explore that more or either get into it more or tone it down, because it almost gets like, it's almost a little confusing because you're like, yeah, like both sides are, and this is what I liked, why I thought Assassin's Creed Rogue was an interesting game, because it gets into this idea that sometimes the assassins make the wrong decisions, or you can perceive them to have made the wrong decisions.
Yeah, I loved Rogue. I thought Rogue was great. I loved it. I thought it was a great way to show, because he was an assassin and he turned.
Yeah.
Because of, how it is good to shade each side in gray. Not every bad guy is just a pure bad guy. Not every good guy is a purely white light good person.
Yeah. So I was, overall, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had read, I don't remember, this was a while ago, but I remember somebody had made it a case for the mistake that they made with the movie is the first movie should have essentially been the Altair game as a movie. And that would have gotten people oriented in a better way. And that would have made more sense because...
Oh, I totally agree. That's what I said. Why don't they just use the story that's there?
And then deviate. To start that as like a 50-50 so that people understood the premise of it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movies would have been progressively more modern day and less of the backstory, except for key moments. Because it is a tricky for a movie. And this is the problem when you're going from a video game to a movie. A video game can be 100 hours.
Yeah.
So you do have...
You're trying to dilute it into 2 hours.
That's the thing is you have a much bigger canvas to spend time and be able to have both sides of the story adequately filled in. A movie has to prioritize its story. It's going to basically operate, in a
and that's
structure.
Why it almost felt like you were getting Cliff Notes, the Cliff Notes version of Assassin's Creed.
And that's where if they'd done the first movie and they had just done it 50-50, where, because the first game is pretty anemic. I mean, if you go back and play that first game, there's not much to it. It was the gimmick that made it good.
Yeah,
and,
it was their
the
first
parkour
attempt.
Stuff. Right, but it's actually a pretty short game if you're not doing all the side stuff. You can get through it pretty quickly. Now that's a plus for a movie adaptation, and then you start getting into the machinations of Abstergo and all the rest of it, and then the games become the games, kind of like what Assassin's Creed Shadows is, where you can have it where you might here and there flash to the Abstergo stuff, but you could largely leave it out, and it would work fine. And that I think that was their intent. The problem is they started off with a movie that was, I think, a little bit intimidating to anybody who didn't already know the series. And there are going to be people who are like, well, why would you even watch the movie if you didn't know the series? It's like, well, people do watch movies.
Oh, no, you know what? I do think as a weird standalone sci-fi movie, I think it works. I do think it works. I don't think it's a great movie, but I think it's a kind of the fact that you've seen it twice. You said
yourself that some of the people that were watching it with you were a little bit confused.
No,
right?
They didn't. But I think it's one of those things where there's movies you watch and you don't really know what's going on, and then you watch them again and you kind of get more of a sense of what's going on.
Well,
right?
Okay. The thing with that is, though, that assumes that they're going to watch it again if they're not bothered by the confusion. That's where I think Altair, because that game and story are so bare bones.
Yeah.
I think that makes a perfect template.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think after that, you can't do it anymore because then they started getting bigger. And
honestly,
as soon as they get bigger, you can't do it.
I had no problem using Fassbender. Fassbender would have been a perfect Desmond Miles.
Well, I'm never going to complain about it.
I know.
If Fassbender and Mads Mikkelsen ever make a movie where they're, a couple fighting crime.
Because it's an ancestor, they don't necessarily have to look the same. Like, that's the thing they did in this movie where, Fassbender plays both roles. I was like, but you don't need that. You can have Fassbender as Desmond Miles, and then you can have somebody else playing Altair, because it's been many, 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 many years and generations.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, I enjoyed it, and it is a weird flick. And it's weird in that it almost like it wants to stand on its own. Like, it doesn't want to necessarily stand on the games. It wants to do its own thing. Maybe. I mean, yeah. I just don't understand how the. I don't understand how the Templars
overestimated the mass popular permeation of Assassin's Creed.
Well, it's interesting how the Templars did not realize that they were essentially breeding assassins. That they were taking these people who were like, kind of violent, and then making them into deadly foes. Like they're breeding their own enemies. So, yeah. Anyway.
It's not an airtight story.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not airtight. Story. It's not airtight at all.
No, it's not.
You know, but you know what? I think probably better writing than Covenant. So anyway.
Oh, by the way.
Oh God.
I'm glad you brought this up. I got a comment on Discord.
You know, my wife has started rolling her eyes at me when anyone brings up Covenant.
Oh, really?
Does it happen recently where like somebody brought it up and I was like, let me tell you about that fucking movie, and my wife just rolled her eyes. I was like, I'm just gonna drop it now. I was like, I'm just gonna stop being angry. It's like, but anyway, go on.
The comment I got was,
why is your co-host a crazy person?
No, not that one. No, it was agreeing with you. Where was it? Jeez, where was it? Crap. Here it is. I'm still. Where's the one where he says? I think he said he hated it too.
We should get some like hold music while you're looking for things.
Wow. Actually, good. Two things. The same person said, weren't you saying that you were missing an issue of the Max or something in digital?
Yeah.
This person has it all. So he said, what issue do you need? So say it.
Oh, yeah.
What do you need?
Figure that.
Say it.
I got it. No, I got it. Right. I have to figure it out. I have to go check my volumes.
Make a note for the next show on what you're missing, because this person has it all. So even if I didn't find the other thing, it was worth it for that.
No, that's excellent.
He put the word hate all in caps as well with Covenant. So you're not alone.
Okay.
Yeah. And then said, "Oh, you guys should watch Heretic." And he said, "It'll fuck you up." And I'm like, "We can't watch it then." I don't want you going to bed all messed up.
Yeah, this is the problem. Is that so?
I'll watch it. Don't worry.
Yeah. So movies get into my head pretty heavily. Like
yes,
my brain works in such a way where like I fully kind of occupy the space and I really examine it and this has always been kind of the way my brain works with analysis, right? And it helps me really break things down, but it also makes it so that I can't necessarily get away from things as easily as I want to. So when we watch movies late at night, it is very late at night for us. Like it is by the time we finish fucking Paradise, it was like 2 a.m. or something like that. I think it might have been later. No, it was like 2 a.m.
It was late. It was
late.
And I usually
go to bed at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
That's
we
like my cutoff.
started at 9, so it was over at
but I
need 11.
But I need like a half hour to like kind of come down from existence so that I can actually fall asleep, because my brain does not want to go to sleep. And this is like kind of the seeds of my...
Especially if you just watch something that makes you angry.
No, honestly, it wasn't that it was angry. It was that my brain went into like full examination mode where I was like, what is this? And it was just like, it was like examining a giant Rubik's Cube that I had to rip apart. And so like I just don't sleep. And it's kind of a problem because it, sleepless nights are not great. So I have to be careful what we watch so late at night because I take it with me. And it's not that I don't want to watch. I think I said to you, like, we've watched horror movies and they don't really affect me. We watched that one about the house with clocks, the House of Clocks, or whatever. And like,
yeah.
That movie didn't bother me that much because it was like it was kind of a dumb Italian horror movie. And like, the bad guys, there was a sense of justice in that movie. Everybody got it who deserved it. And then at the end, like it kind of, but it was also absurd at times. And like, there's that, right? Whereas a movie like Covenant handles itself very seriously. And to have that kind of ending, it's like, oh, fuck this movie, and like you take that with you. We've talked before about your media diet. I mean, like, so the thing is, everything that you watch, everything that you read, everything you see is an input. You are putting data into the pool of your mind. And I think that largely most people don't most people kind of flow to what they like, so it's a kind of a natural sort of guidance. But even still, there are times where you don't stop to think, oh, should I bother seeing this? Is this a good use of my time? Is this just going to muddy the waters of my thoughts, right? And maybe some people don't give a shit because like they just forget it the second they see it. There's people who have that where they can watch a movie and they can be like, oh, whatever, I forgot that almost the second it was over. I think my wife has that. Like she's kind of blessed with that where she could just leave it. But I can't. I examine it. It gets absorbed into the larger philosophy of what's going on in my brain and the huge kind of committee analysis of what's going on in the universe. And so I got to be careful. I got to be careful what I put in there. Because some movies will get in there and they will just fucking stay. And some things can get in there and change the way I fundamentally think about the universe, which sounds like really weird, but it's a good thing in the sense that I can evolve the way I think and I can get better at dealing with the world. But I can also get more unhappy if I put the wrong things in there. So I have to have kind of a healthy sort of diet. So when Joe comes to me with movies now, I have to vet them and see what I'm going to be left with at the other end.
You won't have to anymore because now I know what to bring.
Yeah, we had this with games too. Like, Joe and I play. There's a lot of games we play, but there's, I think I said before, like anything that's like super intense.
It can't be intense.
Yeah, I can't come down. I can't come down fast enough, is what it is. Like I need like a couple hours. So like, and the thing is, because we're on this massive time differential, it's always almost bedtime for me.
And the reality is, I did not expect you to have that kind of reaction to Covenant.
No,
so I'm not going to say that there may not be surprises, but
I didn't expect that at all either. Because the thing is, I knew that I was upset with Prometheus, and many of the things that annoyed me in Prometheus were fixed. It's that I hated Covenant as much as I did, and I think it got into the. We didn't get to this last time when we were talking about this, but there was an article recently that came out that was about how sort of like the misinterpretation of science fiction is kind of may doom society when it's like all these kind of rich techno lords and how they're reading science fiction and they're looking at it and they're going, yeah, that's like they're reading, was it Meta? Everyone in Meta has to read Snow Crash because they're like, that's what we want to do. We want the street. We want that future. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not a future you want. That is a warning about the future from like kind of the vision of the 80s. You know what I mean? Like you don't want a cyberpunk universe because the cyberpunk universe means that we as society have falling the fuck apart. It means that the tech lords have taken over everything and that, the top are at the top and the bottom are at the bottom and everything's fucked. And a lot of people at the top look at that and go, hey, you know what? I like that. I want to be a tech lord. And they don't get the message, which is, no, this is bad for society. Was it Gibson famously said, I wrote this stuff as a warning, not as a guideline. And movies that like, oh God, my brain just fucking blanked on what the name of the movie was. I was just like, that fucking movie. My brain was Covenant. Movies like Covenant, I don't feel like they bring anything positive. I mean, if anything, like I said to you, rich guy makes a robot, mistreats the robot says, fuck humans, and then fucks humans. Like that's, and it's so mean. I don't know why I need that. I don't need it in my head. I know what he's going to do. I don't need to see the brutality of it, and it's the whole, like, why do people make movies about Auschwitz? Well, you make movies about Auschwitz because you never want it to fucking happen again because it happened, right? It's a warning. You want to disturb people, right? Whereas like Covenant doesn't have that cover to utilize. This is a science fiction. I mean, unless the message is, hey, don't, mistreat people that you think are lesser than you, or don't underestimate machines. I don't know. What is the moral lesson? But it's like, I have to. Well,
I guess depending on how you look at it, David was ultimately no more successful in his endeavor than his creator because
he was very human. He was very human.
Yeah. So he has the fallacy as well.
So I don't like to say no to movies. And like I said, this was a total... Joe did not know that I was going to have that reaction.
No, like I don't bring movies that are gore-filled because I know you're not into that. So we're not going to be watching
I'm not into
movies where people's guts are going to blow all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, don't be wrong.
Even though I'm going to tell you right now, at some point... Oh, no, that one's not that gory. I think we are going to watch Dead or Alive 3. And that's not
what was the one, the puppet movie? What was the one you watched a while back?
Mad God?
No, not Mad God. Oh my God, I've seen clips of that.
We're gonna watch that anyway. Love that movie.
Mad God is fucked
the puppet movie,
The Puppet Master, where he comes out of the woman.
Oh, that's Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich. Yeah.
Yes, like those movies. Yeah. Those are gory, but they're also stupid. Like it's this whole kind of what you're watching.
No, if we were going to watch a Puppet Master movie, we would watch Puppet Master 2. That's the only one I'd ever expect you to watch.
I've seen all the old ones.
The 2 is really good. I like 2 a lot. But that one is just unnecessarily cruel. Whereas I don't think Covenant is unnecessarily cruel. It has a point. It's not just doing it because it's funny to have a pregnant woman's fetus exploded by a puppet. Obviously, that's all the Puppet Master movie was after was, hey, you know what's going to be shocking? A pregnant woman whose womb is blown out by...
But the thing is, you know that's what you're watching. It's a stupid horror movie.
His name's Driller. That's
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily want to
make you watch that.
And I don't necessarily want to see that right before bed either, but it's the whole... Yeah, so...
Ooh, Mad God. Add that to the list. All right. That movie is legitimately.
And the thing is, I already just said that I think Mad God is a bad choice.
I don't know. It's not what you think it is. It's not gonna. It will stick with you for good reasons.
I know what it is. I've seen parts of it. I've read about it. I know what it is.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll tell you something. Seeing parts of it is such a disservice to it because you get it doesn't work in parts. I mean, you can appreciate the artistry, but.
I get that. My worry is that when it's completed, it will work a little too well.
No, in fact, if anything, it's the opposite of Covenant. Because it's hopeful. Which is rather incredible if you watch it. You would think this movie is not going to end well.
Sounds incredible to me.
It is. It ends with the birth of a new, better universe. That's what the ending is. Sorry, I just gave it away, but that's what it is.
If you think spoilers matter here at this point.
No, I'm just saying, for anybody who hasn't seen it, it does have an
for tonight, we watched something that was light and fun that I'd never seen. I thought I'd seen this, but I don't think I ever saw this. And I don't. Yeah, there you go.
You shut the fuck up!
I do really have to stitch those together because I keep having to bounce between 2 things to make that work. So anyway.
Yeah. I don't know even. I think I saw a meme of Willem Dafoe, and I was like, "What is that from?" And then I followed it and I looked it up, and then I found this movie because that face he makes when he's so fucking angry.
I was gonna say it's the one where he's screaming. That's what everybody sees.
You see that all the time.
He's screaming.
So but then I actually saw an interview with Michael Bain where he was talking about knowing Bill Paxton, and he said something about that movie Streets of Fire, and I thought he said that he worked on that movie, or he met Bill Paxton through that or something like that, and I was like, Bill Paxton's in Streets of Fire with Willem Dafoe? I was like, what the fuck? And that's when I looked up some of the scenes from it, and I was like, oh, we should watch this. And then you hadn't seen it in a long time either, right?
It was a long time.
Yeah. So that was what we watched. It had to be
20 years or so, yeah.
Yeah, we watched Streets of Fire with Michael Pare and Willem Dafoe and Rick Moranis and what's her name? What's the girl's name who's like 18?
Diane Lane.
Diane Lane. Who, I mean, God, she's young in this.
Very young.
And then the guy, what's his name? The director. I always forget his name.
Walter Hill, The Warriors.
Yeah. So, I liked it, but I understand why it didn't do well. There's a moment in this movie that I think is the moment that made me realize that maybe the director had missed the mark. And I asked a few people about this, and I'm coming to realize I think this is the moment. So there's a part in this movie, and actually, do you know what scene I'm going to talk about? I'm just curious if you've already figured out what scene I'm going to talk about.
Where you don't know if it misses the mark?
No, where I think it misses the mark. That I think you alienate some viewers.
In my opinion, it's the ending, but I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Okay, no, so you're not. So
okay.
There's a part of this movie where the bad guys are coming, and the hero is told to leave the city. And he gets on the train with his sidekick and the girl, the love interest. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, you just got it. Which he's just won back, right, from her boyfriend. And she thinks they're going to run off together. And they have this sweet moment, and then he punches her the fuck in the face. I mean, fucking like right, boom, and knocks her unconscious. Just drops her. I mean, if you hear me in the commentary being like, "What the fuck?" And then he turns to the second, and he's like, "Just get her as far as out of the city as you can." He's like, "I still have business here," and he just gets off the train, and he lets them take off. And I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, you couldn't be like, "Honey, you gotta go," or something, or handcuffed her to a pole. There's no other way you could have done this. You just fucking cold cocked her unconscious. I asked a few people what they would think of a male lead in a movie if that was his approach. And most people were like, "Wow, that's an asshole." And I realized that was the thing. That was the moment in the movie where I was like, "Oh yeah, you know what? That's the problem. Is that the lead character, Cody is such an asshole. He's such like, and I think is that I think it's what may have like kind of deep six this movie because what is it? You know the guys who do Honest Trailers?
Yes.
Recently they did sometimes they do older movies, and they recently did one of Tombstone, right? And in the Honest Trailer, they're talking about how like, Tombstone, the movie, it has huge holes in the story. That some of the characters are a little bit two-dimensional, and they're talking about Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp, and they're like, it's not exactly written with lots of texture to it, and Wyatt Earp is a man who doesn't really want to be a lawman anymore. He just wants to make money, and it's just his focus on making money, and yet the charisma of Kurt Russell is so immense that you're like, yeah, go get a Wyatt Earp. You're fucking awesome, right? Because you're like Kurt Russell, right? And they're saying how like the charisma of Kurt Russell, it outweighs the issues with the character. If you'd had somebody like that playing the Cody character in this movie, it would have gone so much further. I think the problem is that I like Michael Pare in all his like 90s and 2000s B movie action movies that he did. But this is like the weakest thing I've seen him in. Like he's so not equipped for this role. And because of that, rather than coming off like a stoic or like somebody who's got a lot of like kind of tortured subtext, he comes off like an asshole. And you were saying like, the people have problems with the ending. I think the problem with the ending has come from the fact that he comes like such an asshole. And then when he gets the girl back, after being annoyed that she's dating this her manager who's like made her career taken off and is doing these things with her, he gets her back. He goes, "You know what, honey? I'm no good for you. Go back to your boyfriend. But if you ever need any help with anything, give me a call." And he just fucks off. He jumps in the car with his sidekick, and they kind of ride off into the sunset. And I think that, yeah, it is kind of a weird ending, especially when you've had this character like I think the only person I think I really rooted for was the sidekick, McCoy. Like that, I was the one character in the movie who was like, she better not die because she's fucking awesome. But otherwise, like Cody's kind of a dick. Rick Moranis is the in a very weird role, plays the manager boyfriend who gets the hot girl, and like he's this kind of obnoxious New York slimeball, right? So you don't really root for him. What is it? I was fascinated by what the hell is going on with Willem Dafoe. But I mean, it's just kind of the beginnings of his strange career of playing weird villains. So like, you don't really know who to root for. I mean, like even the cops seem to kind of, I mean, honestly, I was surprised. I mean, it's not the kind of movie, but I was surprised that the cops didn't just blow fucking Willem Dafoe away when he got there. It's very un-New York cop of them to have the biker show up and be like, "I'm going to arrest you." And he's like, "No, you're not." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to shoot you in the face." And that's the end of the movie. But we're in a special kind of universe, which is the other weird thing about this movie. I love the universe that this movie occupies, which is it feels like a Western that takes place in the 50s that looks like the 80s. Do you think that is an apropos description of this?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it. I think it's hilarious.
No, I think it's great. I mean,
but I can see
like
that
it works.
I think that there could be a lot of people that be like, "What the hell are we watching here?"
Well,
Like,
remember this? I kept referring to the Flash, and that was I remember there were people who were confused over the Flash too, because the Flash doesn't. The TV series mixes all the different times together.
The original one or the newer one?
The old '90s Flash one. If you haven't watched that in a while, it mixes all different things. So people are driving old, like 40s cars, but it's a modern city, and yet there's old style telephone. Like there is no time assigned to that show. They specifically made it that way. There's a character that's basically the Shadow, and he's like on a radio program. There is no time. It's mixing multiple timelines together, and a lot of people were confused by it. They were like, well, when does this take place? And the showrunners were like, no.
Yeah, I mean, there's a war.
Take place in a time.
There's a war that people are coming back from, but you're like, is it World War I? Is it Vietnam? Like, what is it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean,
they never state it.
Oh no, they don't. It's about a specific event, but also the way that they handle this.
Not only that, the four main characters that we hang with, right?
Yeah.
Michael Pare is dressed like he's a gunslinger from like the 30s or whatever. Like, he's just a guy from the 30s. He looks like he's from the 30s. The Amy Madigan looks like she's a steelworker from World War II, or maybe a little later. Yeah. Diane Lane looks like she's, whatever 80s pop singer you love the most.
Glam, yeah.
Yes. And then Rick Moranis looks like
a
game show host from the 60s.
That is a bold outfit that he has on. It's
that's what I'm saying is
like a striped suit, but then the shirt is a brown stripe that like goes the other way, and a bow tie.
They look like they should have been pulled out of time by Keanu Reeves and what's his name? Alex.
Bill and Ted.
Yeah, Bill and Ted. This looks like who Bill and Ted would have pulled out for one of their show and tells.
Yeah, and the thing is, the music
they should be in the same movie.
The music is fun. The soundtrack is fantastic.
Soundtrack's dynamite.
And I mean, I don't know if I said it, but I did enjoy this movie. I mean, I'm talking about some of the issues of it, but I did enjoy it. For me, it worked great. It was a fun movie. It's a unique environment. The director was very specific about how it looked. It's like he did the Warriors, and he was like, I want to make a fun musical version of the Warriors. And then he went off to do this. And he could, because he'd just done 48 hours. Like I think you said in the commentary, he'd just done 48 hours and he had the money. I mean, they gave him $50 million to make this, and it only made $8 million.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and this director, you know what? I just realized that he did Supernova with Spader and Bassett, and that's not a great movie. Like, I like Spader and I like Angela Bassett, and there's things in that movie that are kind of fun, but overall, it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if Supernova is a bad movie in the same way that this is kind of like a bad movie where you look at it and you're like, there's things that don't work. But I think that this is a much better work of pop art than Supernova is like a bad sci-fi movie. But this is like a weird, iconic movie where it's like you can't place the date. There's a lot of specific style going on. I mean, and like I said, it's like a Western story that looks like the 50s, but with 80s styling.
Yeah.
And the hair is incredible. They have the fact that the movie culminates in a sledgehammer duel in the middle of the street under the subway train. I mean, that's... I was talking to somebody today about this movie, and they couldn't be sure if they'd seen it. And I said, they have a sledgehammer fight at the end. And the person was like, oh, I did see this movie. And I'm like, there you go. Because that idea is so iconic. That you have these two guys sledgehammer fighting at the end. And the fact that Willem Dafoe does a high kick in leather pants, that is no small act. Let me tell you.
Sure.
That's so, I enjoyed the hell out of this. This is such a, but beyond that, Michael Pare. I mean, honestly, I find this movie more endearing by the fact that Michael Pare is as bad at being the hero as he is. Where it's he gets the girl back, then he gives the girl back. It's like he gets her, then he doesn't want her. I mean, and then in that scene where he punches her out, I'm like, okay, this is the fundamental problem with this character. You could have just handcuffed your man to the bar. You could have done any number of things, but you were like, the straightest line here is to just punch her in the face as hard as I can. Could you imagine if he'd killed her? If he'd accidentally punched too high,
accidentally snapped her neck, or she hit her head on the pole,
or put her nose
died,
through her fucking head, like like.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
you know what? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't disagree that scene is rougher than it needs to be, but
yeah.
The problem is, based on the ending,
yeah,
was it something where Perret, because they meet, they kiss in the rain, they instantly fuck,
and they instantly have sex? Whoa. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, they have sex so fast they're still wet from the rain.
Yeah, and the thing is that then at the end he's like, "No, you can't stay with me because I'm not long-term material." Is basically what he's saying to her.
Yeah, and the thing is, let's go back to the writing. If they'd given us one scene where he's talking to McCoy and he's like, "You know what? I love her, but I love her so much that I need to set her free because I'm nothing but shit for her." Right? Totally signed on.
And see, that's where I think they were trying to use a lot of shorthand, which doesn't work. Like him hitting her is like, oh no, I think that was supposed to be some kind of very clumsy way of saying this is how much he's trying to push her away, that he's just going to belt her one. Because otherwise, it's so jarring and strange that it does make you not like him more.
Yes, I was shocked. I was like, holy shit, he just punched her out. Oh my God. And then he was like, get her out of here as far as you can. I'm like, I get that. I totally understand what you're doing. But I mean, my girlfriend would not forgive me for that. My wife would not forgive me for that. If I was like trying to get her out of an area, so I punched her in the face. Right? I mean, yeah, she'd call me with a broken nose.
Fucking nuts.
That's what you'd think.
The hell? Where the hell is that? It was
strange to me that Madigan. No, that's from an online series.
Okay.
I just grabbed that. That's not from anything. I'm finding more and more clips from just random YouTube clips these days.
Well, McCoy. You're saying McCoy's character?
Yeah, I'm surprised that she didn't like punch him right away after that. Be like, that's not what you do to a woman.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that would be her place in that movie, to look at him and be like, asshole.
That character was written as a man, so
yeah. I mean, listen, and that's
something.
one of the. That is interesting though, because so the actress Madigan, she tried out for the role of the singer, right? And the director didn't want her for that, and then she apparently said to him something along the lines of, well, the most interesting character to me isn't this girl anyway. And he was like, well, who's the most interesting character to you? And she said, it's this character McCoy. He was named something else and it was written as a man. And the director was like, well, how do you think you'd do it? So she tried out for that character, and the director liked it so much that he had them rewrite the character to be a woman. And I actually think that that's probably one of the smartest things they did in that movie, because she makes Michael Paray's character better, because he meets her and he's like, so she's like, do you got a place I could crash? And he's like, well, you want to have sex? And she's like, no, you're not my type. But, you're a veteran and I'm a veteran, so, maybe you can help me out. And he's like, okay. And then even his sister, when he goes back to his sister's place, she's like, why is there a girl sleeping on the couch? He's like, they've never done that before. And he's like, we're not together. And like, it becomes this kind of funny running thing. And even at the end, when she's in the car and he's like, you're gonna come with me? And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, are we gonna do something? And she's like, no, you're not my type. Get in the car. Let's go. And I like the fact that they leaned into it. And that honestly made it more interesting. If that had just been a guy, it would have made sense. Two guys looking for trouble, right? I mean, the dynamic duo. But the fact that it's a woman, I think elevates it a little bit, because it's different. You don't always get that. And like I said, I did not want anything to happen to McCoy, because I thought McCoy was great. McCoy is
ironically,
yeah.
Amy Madigan and the McCoy character make Michael Paray's character better, yet make Michael Paray worse.
Yes,
because his inability to do any type of emoting or
he's not.
Good
Yeah,
acting
he's not, and they don't give him enough
underscored
lines.
by her.
Yeah, because he's
they give him lines. He just delivers them all with the same. You know what I was talking about with brick walling audio?
Yeah.
He's the human equivalent in this movie.
I think I talked about this in the commentary, with it. Like, everyone's audio is delivered in this kind of hyperized way, so it's not
Except his is hyperized monotone.
Yeah. But it's not. So it's like you're saying, hey, you want to get dinner? It doesn't come out like that. Where it's like, hey, do you want to get dinner? It comes out like hey, we should get dinner. And it's like,
you know
it's
what
almost
I think we should all do is get some dinner. That sounds great.
Everything is like,
pay. I'm not going to pay. You're a dick.
Yeah, but it's almost like overly theatrical. You know, like
they're doing
it's
very similar to. It's similar to what they do in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, except it works in that where that never sounds like real people talking, but that's because they're fucking
drug-addled as shit.
Yeah, whereas these people are sober for most of the movie.
You know, if you told me that Michael Pereira's character was drunk through the whole movie, it would make more sense. If he had a severe drinking problem and he was just drinking through the whole movie, but he was trying to do the right thing. What's that?
Yeah.
But I will say this.
But that's not what they do.
The fact that he can one-shot a motorcycle with a Winchester rifle and blow it up, I mean, that's a great skill to have.
Sure.
That's one of the funniest parts of the movie to me.
Then.
That was that period where, like, Commando was like that, where like you'd shoot a car and it would just blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So no, I enjoy the hell out of it. I mean, even with all its weird little faults, it's a unique movie. I mean, it has a tone all unto itself. But it is. I mean, it is a Western set in the 50s that's dolled up to look like it's the 80s. I mean, like the city is all grim looking, but then all the people are brightly colored, and like it's just there's a lot of very specific decisions. So, yeah, I would tell anybody to see this movie. I think this is a fun movie to see at least once. It is so uniquely itself.
Yes, I think it's a fun movie, but I think it's. I said this in the commentary. I'll say it here again. There was a YouTube video by an individual who I largely have a 50-50 agree, completely disagree ratio with. But one thing he said was that Streets of Fire has 20 minutes where it's the best movie you've ever seen, and it's 10 minutes at the beginning and it's the 10 minutes at the end. That make up for the middle where there's a lot of unevenness. And the problem is, because in some movies unevenness is okay. The central problem is, you've already spotlighted, is the heaviest burden of this film is that the lead isn't doing anything with it.
Yeah. You know what? And you know what would make this movie perfect?
Makes it tough.
You want to use all this amazing AI technology that we supposedly have? Take Michael Pereira out of this movie. Right?
Yeah.
And then just replace him with anybody who can act. In fact, you know what? You don't even need to remove Michael Pereira. Just remove his dialogue and have somebody else dub it in who can act. Jesus.
Made a fan out of this.
You know what? We could do that. If you just dubbed one of us in, I bet we would emote better than Michael Pereira. And I feel bad saying that because I have seen a lot of Michael Pereira movies. He's brought a lot of entertainment through like the 90s and the 2000s. But you know what? He was doing a lot of action B movies, and I acknowledge that they were not necessarily good movies. You know, but I know he can act better than this, which is why it's so weird that he's so stunted. And is it because this is like an early movie for him? Because Diane Lane, I mean, she's 18 and she's fantastic. You know?
Sure.
Man, that's weird to see Diane Lane so young. I mean, that. You know, I did something terrible today. I looked up what Sean Young looks like now. And it made me so sad for what time does. Because in my head, for some reason, she's still like, she's still the android from fucking Blade Runner.
Sure.
And then I was like, asshole, that can't be, because Harrison Ford is fucking old. I saw him in like a booze commercial recently, and I was like, yeah, he's old. And I'm like, oh my God, if he's old, it's like, that means that Sean Young does not look like that anymore. And I was like, don't look. I was like, just keep it the way it is in your mind. I'm like, no, I can't not look. And I was like, yeah, time is a terrible thing.
Well, don't forget, I saw her in that Dune ripoff movie that's fairly recent, so I knew relatively what she looked like.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, this movie is fun because everyone is so young. This is like Bill Paxton at the beginning.
Sure, yeah.
Diane Lane, Rick Moranis is very young. I mean, everybody is, you know. Yeah. And it is hugely enjoyable, and the music is good. You know. Yeah, I mean, like, does the middle drag a bit? Yeah, I didn't think it was going to take them so long to get back from that part of the city. there's kind of a weird warrior vibe to that, where they're trying to get back to, like, I think you said it best, where you said that they act like there's this constant threat, but there isn't really a constant threat because the gang doesn't know where they are. They're definitely going to come for them, but like you don't really know who they're hiding out from at that point.
Yeah, and they sort of miss a trick because early on he fights this gang in the diner, which is just let me establish.
Yeah, and they never come back. I figured they would come back. And that's
where you would put a scene where Dafoe goes to a couple of the local gangs and says, "Hey, if you don't want us to come in and crush you, we want this guy's head." And then they run into one or two of those gangs. And somebody's going to say, "Oh, it's just the Warriors again." Well, guess what? That formula worked, so who cares?
Yeah, it is, but it worked.
Well, plus, it isn't because the Warriors didn't have music like this. It wasn't a musical fantasy like this. So it's okay to do that stuff again if it works, which it did. And instead, we just get these scenes where they keep driving places. And yes, there's the cops, I guess, are sort of a threat, and that's it.
I think this has to go in our file of movies that are basically giant music videos.
Or due to be remade.
Well, I know, because like the vibe of this movie is that it's kind of a weird 80s music video to some degree.
Well, it is, except that the middle doesn't have enough of that.
No, there's not enough music.
It's, again,
they have those weird sequences, though, where they kind of like turn to this. Oh, man. Actually, we were watching. There's that sequence in the movie where they kind of have her singing this slow music, but it's just kind of a weird sort of mental thing. Like it's not actually happening.
You know what it's like? It's like Sons of Steel, but they didn't do it enough.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It was when he has that weird side sequence where he's singing and the fucking backup singers show up.
But they're smart. In Sons of Steel, they sprinkle that through to where you're kind of like, okay, what will the next insanity be?
So what was the one that with Virginia Hay? It was Obsession?
Well, that was Obsession, A Taste for Fear.
Yeah, so Obsession is basically a giant music video, the way it's directed to look. Sons of Steel is basically a giant music video. This is basically a giant. There's a fourth one, though. There's another one that we watched not that long ago that was also like kind of made to look like a video. I can't remember what it was. We watched it after Obsession. Maybe it is Sons of Steel.
I think it is Sons of Steel, because that one is a sequence of music videos with a bare bones story in between.
Yeah, these movies that are essentially like, MTV movies, you know what I mean? Like if I had been watching MTV and they were like, "Oh, we have a special feature, a music video movie," and I saw not Sons of Steel, but if I saw fucking Streets of Fire, I'd have been like, "Oh yeah." Yeah, except in that version, it would have been like Madonna as the lead singer, and then like she would have done the whole soundtrack.
Imagine the movie as it is, but before they get to the bus, when they're trying to get away, then there's the cut to her singing a song that's about the scene that just happened or the next one. Then they get on the bus. That thing happens with the cops. Then they cut to her singing a song.
Then it's like a full-on musical at that point.
But you know what? It would work because that's the setup. The opening and ending are music videos about what's happening. Yeah, and they're the best parts of the movie. So if you inserted those Sons of Steel style, it would work. And that would be a better movie because then you would be distracted from Michael Paré delivery of, I just don't know why I'm here. Why'd you hire me to come here? I don't know. I don't care anymore. I should care, but I don't care. Well, I care now because I can, get her in the sack, but I don't care anymore. So I'm going to smack her. All right, bye.
I don't want the money. You can just take the money.
I'm sorry, you weren't worth the $10,000, so I'm going to go now. I'm really upset. I don't know if my tone of voice can conveys this properly, but boy, am I heartbroken about you. But I know I'm not good enough for you, so I'm going to leave town. But before I leave town, I'm going to take care of my feud.
Because I know Michael Paré can do better. But yeah, when you said that this wasn't one of his best performances early on, I was like, oh, it can't be that bad. And then he started talking, and I was like, oh, man. I was like, there's subtext that you aren't delivering.
Yeah, okay, it's a twofold problem. Again, if everybody around him was at his level or worse, it wouldn't be as noticeable.
No, but everyone is so good. That's the issue.
That's the problem.
Like, listen,
especially Willem Dafoe of all people. You're going to put him up against him? Oh, no, God.
Willem Dafoe is fantastic. The scene where they have like a face-off, like Willem Dafoe is so much better, and even Rick Moranis, who's playing like a New York sleazeball
against type.
Is acting, against type, is acting circles around Michael Paré. Yeah. You know? I mean, look, the bartender, Bill Paxton as the asshole bartender, is acting circles around him.
Bill Paxton, his 7 minutes of screen time is out acting him. Yeah, I know. I know. It's not good.
Yeah, the only person in this movie I think is worse than the Michael Pare. I think it's the main police guy's partner.
Oh yeah,
who's like a character actor you've seen in a million movies. That's almost
supposed to be like one of those type of roles.
Oh, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's his company in this.
Whereas Michael Pare just looks like he's about to fall asleep in half his scenes.
Honestly, you know what would be a really great project? So if anybody's bored, right, and they have time on their hands, take this movie, right, and rather than dub something in
to us for 2 hours.
Well, there you go. Go find dialogue from other Michael Pare movies that are delivered better, and just drop them in, even if they make no sense. If he said shit that made no sense the whole movie, but still sounded right, you'd fucking interpret it as some kind of weird poetry. Take a line from some other movie, just put it in there, and she'd be like, Cody, why did you leave? And he'd be like, oh, baby, the flowers. I love the flowers this time of year. And she was like, "Oh, I love you."
Well,
it's.
You could probably easily use software to face replace it, where you just paste his face over it.
Well, I mean, the thing is, he has so many movies out there, and there's so many other movies where he does a better job. Just lift his own dialogue and drop it in.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I think he would be a better movie.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Except you have to digitally put that Safari mustache on him, which even the movie doesn't commit to.
Oh, okay. That right there, though, you got to tell, that was a fun catch when we realized that.
Yeah, it was, except, I could see most people never even notice it because it's so faint.
They meant for him to have scrub, to be like a scrubby guy. And the thing is, like, when I think scrub, I think fucking Aragorn. What's his name?
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, sure. Viggo Mortensen, that man can grow a beard. And when he's got scrub, it's like fucking sandpaper all over his face. Looks really good.
Yeah.
When at his age and the facial hair was trying to grow, it's a bit spotty. So when you get this close-up of him, it looks like he has a faint safari mustache. Which, if he had an actual safari mustache in this movie, I think it would have improved the character, to be honest with you.
I agree.
To have him show up dressed like that with a safari mustache. But
I agree.
And despite all this, it was a fun as hell movie.
Oh, it is.
Like, I liked it. The music was fun. The characters were fun.
The thing that irritates me is that you could tell it had more potential if they just could have gotten somebody better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the whole. It feels like, for me, if there had been a few more scenes where Cody, which is Michael Pare's character, had explained himself to somebody, it would have made his character less of an asshole. Because as the movie stands, the lead is a big asshole. I mean, the only thing he does is that he gives the money back that the boyfriend pays him to go get the girl, which pissed her off. And she was like, "Oh, I had to give you money to come get me." And he gives the money back. And then she's like, "Oh my God, I love you." And then he's like, "Yeah, but I don't want you." He's like, "I'm no good for you." But you're like, dude, but you already basically ruined her day, because you made her run away from her boyfriend, her manager, who was doing good by her. You then bang her and then knock her unconscious. And then at the end, you hand her back to her boyfriend. And that scene between him and Rick Moranis, where like he's essentially being like, "I'm giving your girlfriend back," like, that is probably the weirdest scene in that whole movie. And that's saying something.
That scene makes complete sense to me, though, if you think about it this way, right?
Yeah.
Within the context of the movie, not in, reality, but in the context of the movie, Rick Moranis, if you were going to have a beautiful, talented woman.
Yeah.
And she's going to pick between two guys.
Yes.
Right? And you've got Rick Moranis, granted, a nice accountant, but a dweeb and a lout. And not like we get no idea that he's romantically nice to her.
No, this is really like Little Shop of Horrors. Why is Audrey with fucking Steve Martin's character?
Except Audrey talks weird, so I kind of understand that. Like Audrey, they gave her a quirky, like she's a quirky character, so it makes sense. Diane Lane, for all intents and purposes, looks like a superstar, like a Tina Turner type. Like she's super powered, right? So between the two of them, Moranis knows that by almost any objective measure, he loses. He's shorter.
He loses
weaker.
Yeah.
He's weirder looking. And so anybody like that who sees that this guy, who literally did steal his woman back in 2 seconds in the rain, has decided that he's going to opt out, you are going to be so overjoyed at your luck that you will cower and beg and be like, yes,
in the context of this movie, sure.
Yes. Yes,
but
that's what I'm saying.
It is still a weird scene when he gives her back. I mean,
it's the Perret side that doesn't make sense. Where he's like, "You're better for." It's like, why do you think that? You don't like this guy.
Yeah,
like you can admit that it's not going to work out.
No, honestly, it feels like he realizes that he doesn't. He wants to do other things. He wants to offload her. Yeah,
but he wouldn't be so pleasant with him about it. He'd be like, "Listen, you asshole. The only reason you're getting her is because I'm leaving." Yeah.
I mean, if you just go into this movie going, the lead's a huge asshole, it makes more sense. Then you can accept the things that he does.
And by the way, you can do the same. Basically, you can do the Michael Perret character and make him likable. And if you want to see the perfect example of that, go watch Big Trouble in Little China, which virtually has the same ending.
Yeah, I know. You know what would have made this movie better?
He's like, "Aren't you going to kiss her goodbye?" No, and he leaves.
Yeah, and even the way he says it too, it's like it's not even like a. Nope. It's not even like a no. It's a nope.
And she has this thing where she says, "We could settle down." And he's like, "Yeah, but eventually I rub everybody the wrong way." Yeah. Like it's the same character, but it's so much better.
It's Kurt Russell, man. We just said Kurt Russell has the charisma.
That's what I'm saying. Is you can see where the deficiencies are, and unfortunately, they're all in the main character.
You know what would have made this movie amazing? If you got Peter Weller.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have made it fucking 5 stars right there, at least for me.
Actually, you know what? No, you know what? Peter Weller is the Rick Moranis character, and Kurt Russell is the Perret character. Then it makes sense.
Oh, geez. Then you don't know which one you want to go for, right? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's more even then. But Weller's kind of
you know what?
Default robotic way of being is more like a manager.
No, what year is Big Trouble in Little China?
Oh, it's 88 maybe?
Let's see.
Big Trouble. Hold on, I want to make sure I'm right about that. I could be wrong. Let's see.
Because I think Kurt Russell's charisma got better as he got older, and I think that
86.
Yeah, I think that it's weird. Like, so in the 80s, I think that Kurt Russell, for me, Kurt Russell and I must just call him Buckaroo Banzai.
Peter Weller. I mean,
that actor and that character are so linked in my head. I think that in the 80s, Peter Weller and Kurt Russell, to me, I think were charismatically even matched.
Yes, but their energy is completely different.
Oh, completely different.
Kurt Russell,
by all means.
And that's what I'm saying. Kurt Russell seems like the kind of scummy-ish, likable guy. And Peter Weller comes off as the stage manager.
And Big Trouble in Little China it was supposed to be the sequel to Buckaroo Banzai.
It certainly was. So there's something to it.
One interesting thing to add, though. There is a weird sequence when they go to the biker bar, and there is a dancer, and I texted you about this because I was so baffled.
Oh, yeah.
There's a dancer in that scene, and you were going on about how you thought it was really fantastic that there wasn't just this like big-chested stereotype.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, man, like that woman can fucking dance. Like this isn't a throwaway sequence. Like they got somebody who could actually fucking like dance. And I was kind of. I thought about it, and I went and looked something up, and I realized that so she was the unofficial body double for Flash, the big dance sequence in Flashdance. So when you can't see so when you can't see the lead's face, it was this other woman. She was the dancer, and she's fucking incredible. I mean, she's an incredible dancer. So it was just so weird that she was she wasn't even stripping. She was just like the exotic dancer at the biker bar.
Yeah, it
was kind of an odd. Just an odd,
It was an odd thing.
It was an odd thing, yeah. There's a lot of interesting people in this movie.
There's a lot of interesting people, that's for sure.
So I do. I mean, other than would you call Cody's reaction misogyny? Is that what it is, or is he just an asshole? No, because I think he's an asshole because he's not.
No, I don't think it's misogynistic. I think he's just.
Yeah, because he's with McCoy. Like him and McCoy are cool, and he doesn't question McCoy's ability.
Yeah, I think he is somebody who, I mean, somebody calls him selfish at one point, and I think that's right. So to him, smacking her is not misogynistic. It's just the quickest way to solve this issue he's got.
Yeah,
and he doesn't care the fact that he just belted her in the face, which is just Terrible.
Yeah, so as long as you can sign on to the very specific internal logic of this movie, I thought it was a lot of fun. It looks interesting as hell. You know, it's unique. Willem Dafoe in head-to-toe leather is a sight to behold.
That's true.
You know, and
soundtrack's great. Visuals are great.
Soundtrack's fantastic. It's not poorly filmed. It's very well filmed. This is a director. No. This director does know what he's doing. I mean,
I'm not sure it's accurate in terms of firearms and their interactions with motorcycles, but you know,
no. And this goes back to the whole that it's such a Western. He's shooting a fucking Winchester rifle. I mean, later on it's a shotgun, but in the beginning he's firing a Winchester. Yeah. You know, I'm surprised that they weren't all packing fucking 6-shooters and shit. You know, in fact, the fact that the biker gang doesn't show up with. I mean, when they show up at the end, do they ever have guns?
They have guns.
Okay.
But they don't use them. They do have them. Some of them have them.
Okay.
That's how they basically remember, because they're backing the cops up, and then all the townspepeople show up with guns and back them up. So
and like everybody in that
guns.
Everybody's got a shotgun in that town.
yes, everybody is packing in that. Well, because you know it's a Western.
Because it's a Western. That's right. Everyone's got a firearm because it's a Western. Yeah. Well. I liked it.
I had fun with it. It's a fun movie to visit every 15 years or so.
200 hours.
Oh, did we just get there?
We're just a few minutes over. But I don't
know. Oh, that's funny because we're kind of right at the end there. So
yeah. I don't know if I.
Well, I have no idea what our next movie is, so we'll see.
Well, I have a stable of 4. I'm trying to decide which it will be. 5 now, because Mad God is in there. But that won't be the next one. Or maybe it will. We'll see what.
Be nice to my psyche. Don't do Bad God next.
I'm telling you, Mad God is not going to do what you think. It really isn't. It's. I say this positively. It's not coherent enough to affect you that way. And Tippett has said that. He's like, this is not supposed to be like a story. This is supposed to be things I thought of, loosely connected in the fact that they're all in a weird universe. That's it. It's not that there is not a storyline that goes through it. If you attempt that, forget it. You're not supposed to watch it that way.
I know the problem is I think that's kind of how my brain works. I will try to build a narrative around it.
Nah, what you'll do is you'll focus on the visuals and the soundtrack, which is spectacular. It's a beautiful soundtrack. And you'll appreciate the artistry and the gonzo-ness of it at times. Because boy, oh boy, I don't think I have ever before, and likely will never again, have a movie where the sort of main character is strolling along a row of, 100-foot tall giants that are being electroshocked into convulsively shitting, and whose shit is converted into automatons to then rake gravel.
It sounds like a Tool video.
It is. Except it's not. Actually, you know what? Tool videos are more oppressive, which is saying something. Because the music is so goddamn oppressive. But this isn't like that. The music in this is almost like a lonely, not a Spanish guitar, but like this guitar strumming in the background. And this, I've worked and drawn to the music for that thing, and I don't have any negative association to it. I just listen to it. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Yeah.
We'll see what comes down the pipe.
Yep. We'll see what's next. We have movies. John. But none of them. If any of them trigger the reaction you've had to Covenant, it will definitely be unintentional. Yeah.
You know what?
I'll tell you part of the problem. I'll tell you part of the challenge is, like I said with Fear and Loathing, I don't mind revisiting that because it's been so long since I watched it. I think it's just
I think that's the one that we were talking about doing. Yeah.
It is, because I'm reading the book and I realized I hadn't watched the movie in a long, long time. And the movie's a riot.
Yeah, and the thing is,
but
I said to you, if you like Fear and Loathing, definitely find the Jim Jarmusch audio play that they did. It's on YouTube. You can listen to it.
Oh yeah.
I do think that for me, that is the best version, which is weird to say because I mean, Johnny Depp is a great actor. And fucking Benicio del Toro is fucking
those two together in this movie are such a combination.
But I'm telling you,
I watched the opening the other day to just see if it still had that magic to it.
I think the movie is very good, and somehow still the audio play from me is better. I think it covers a lot more territory, and I just enjoy it more. And I think what it is that when you have the visuals from the movie and then you do the play and somewhere in your head, or the audio play, and somewhere in your head they kind of hook up together, it kind of makes the Voltron version of it. It's like this is the best possible version it could be.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah,
we'll see what comes next.
We'll see what comes next. On that note, everybody, Streets of Fire is fun. Watch it. If you've never watched it, yes, it's a fun movie.
It's not Oscar worthy or anything like that. It's not going to change your life, but sometimes we're just looking for entertainment.
Go into it understanding that the main character may not be
He's a dick.
your favorite.
He's a dick.
Yeah, but surrounded by great music, better actors, wonderful visuals, and fortunately, he never becomes such an overwhelming piece of shit that it destroys the movie. So you will be able to get through it. But like I said, you may at the end, my opinion is, oh boy, wasted potential for remake type of thing.
I don't even know who you would trust with a movie like this. Actually, no. You know what? You know who would love to make a movie like this? Who's the guy that did Moulin Rouge? Baz Luhrmann. Baz Luhrmann would fucking eat this movie up.
Yeah, I think Spike Jonze could do something with it. I think.
Yeah.
I think there are people who could do something with this.
You don't want to hand this over to fucking who's the guy who did Alien 3?
Actually, you know who I'd give it to? I'd give it to the guy who did Mandy.
Jesus.
I mean,
what the fuck would that become? Wow.
Well, this is the thing though, is he's helmed two movies where the leads are not necessarily standard issue protagonists.
Oh, so wait, he did Mandy. What else did he do?
Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Oh, Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be
that
would be
so as far as
he's
got that 80s ethos, and he also
it
would be interesting.
Wow,
so
man.
There are people who could do it. But as it stands,
you don't want a straight-laced director. You want a director who's got personality to their visuals.
No, because the things that work about the movie are the kind of extravagant things.
Yeah.
It's otherwise, if you were to strip the visuals and the soundtrack out, it's an attempt to do a 50s Western.
And that's a good question, is who does really good music in their movies at this point? Because
Alex Garland does, but he would never touch this movie, I don't think.
I was going to say James Gunn. Style. James Gunn knows how to use music in his movies.
Tarantino's really good with soundtracks, but would he want, I don't know. He could probably do it, but I don't think he wants to anymore.
I think Tarantino could do it, but I think if Tarantino did it, he would make it more gritty than it.
And he's already done a Western. He's already done his Western. I don't think he wants to do that again.
Yeah, but I mean, his Western was depressing.
Okay.
He might want to do a. He might want to do a fun Western.
I'm not commenting on that. It's just.
No, I know. He might want to do a fun Western. Listen, I still hold out hope that crazy bastard's going to do a Star Trek movie.
You make a good point about James Gunn. The problem, I think, with James Gunn is he tried to make it funny. I guess, you know what? I shouldn't say. Maybe he would work. Maybe it would work. Maybe the humor would. Maybe humor would save it.
I'm sticking with Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah. Well, Luhrmann certainly has the visuals. I don't know whether, again, he would make more of a musical out of it, so there is that angle.
He has the musical aspect. He has a visual style. He does. Yeah. He could be able to handle the kind of weird romance of it, and still have the main guy leave at the end.
I don't have any issue with that choice. That makes sense. So we just named 4 or 5 people that could do it. So somebody do it.
But fucking giving it to the Mandy guy. Honestly, that's almost an experiment itself. What movie can we give to you almost want to take a movie idea and give it to an off-kilter director just to see what gets pushed out the other side.
Well, the other person I would have, and this is sort of similar to Mandy, but I don't think he has any interest, is I would give it to the guy who did Hardware.
Is that guy still doing movies?
That's yeah, because he did what do you call it? What's his name? Oh, I can't just search for Hardware. I get Home Depot. I need the movie Hardware. The guy's name is Richard Stanley. Richard Stanley just did that movie. I reviewed it. It was a downer and a half.
Which
Color
one?
Out of Space. That's from 2019.
Oh my God, that movie! Yeah, your description of that movie disturbed me.
It is miserable. It is one of the it is one of the most depressing movies. I'll never watch it again. It's in that category. I'll never watch it again. Yeah, he's still making movies. He made one in 2019. He is not retired, as far as I know. So, I would be fascinated what he would do with it. Because, I mean, Hardware is almost a music video. Pretty much is, right? And then Island of Dr. Moreau is whatever the fuck it is. And Dust Devil's great. So yeah, he's got the eye for it. And he would be an unusual choice. So I think if you want to do convention, the people who would probably hew the closest to what it is would probably be Quentin Tarantino or even James Gunn. They would make the closest to this in a remake. But if you want to go outside the box a bit, that's where it's. I remember Cosmo, whatever his name is, the guy who did Mandy.
Oh, you know who I would be fascinated with, oddly.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie. Because
it would be love it or hate it, that's for sure. But I don't think this is enough horror for him.
No. It's not that. It's that he did the Munsters movie, which totally positive. It totally surprised. I haven't seen all of it yet, but it totally
monsters.
But it totally surprised me the direction he took it in. So, like, I would almost be fascinated to see what he would do. I mean, he would change the music of it, but it'd be interesting to see.
I don't think he has interest in this genre.
Well, no, listen, I don't think a lot of these directors have interest in movies that they end up having to make.
Hold on, though. If he replaced the main characters with the Universal monsters in each of those roles, then maybe. If Michael Pare was Dracula, Amy Madigan was Frankenstein, or no, Rick Moranis would be Frankenstein's monster. What's her face would be Vampirella, which makes sense with Pare because Dracula and Vampirella.
Yeah,
you could sort of see that. And then Amy Madigan would be the Wolfman, I guess.
Wolfman, absolutely the Wolfman.
Wolf woman or whatever.
Yeah.
Or
and then Willem Dafoe would be the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, okay. Then
it's just one of those things. It's like it's giving something to a weird director and saying it. Because like another one is Tim Burton. How would Tim Burton handle this? What would he draw out?
Tim Burton's not a bad choice because Mars Attacks is kind of this, where it's that era, but
that weird vibe.
It's not the music video thing as much. So
no, the music is the part that would escape him.
It would be it'd be interesting to see what he would do. So none of these would be. Let's put it this way. I would be more interested in all of these choices than, giving it to somebody who's just a normal filmmaker like Spielberg. Like Spielberg wouldn't do anything with this.
No.
Whereas the people we've made
it about daddy issues is what he'd do.
Yeah. Well, Michael Pare leaving, except that Diane Lane would be his daughter.
That would
be
make
his
the movie
estranged
awkward.
daughter who didn't want to follow in the gunslinger's footsteps and decided to go be a weirdo artist and do music. And so fuck you then.
I hope that somebody with incredible auditory and editing skills does the Michael Pare thing where they just drop in lines from other movies.
Sure. If somebody's done it or if somebody does it, let us know.
Because that would be fun.
I'd be happy to check it out. On that note, enjoy whatever you decide to entertain yourself with this weekend. Streets of Fire is far from the worst choice. Like I said, just be aware that Pare. Assassin's Creed is a fun movie. Fun. Yeah, Assassin's Creed is not a bad movie. I know he has that rap, but I'm sorry. I've never agreed with it. I don't think I did at the time either. I don't remember my review, but I know in my rewatch,
I remember you being interested in what they were doing with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of wish we had seen more movies. We didn't because it was a bomb, but...
Yeah.
Hey, 2 movies with potential of what could have been.
Did we review 2 bombs today? Is that what we did?
Yeah, I think they both...
it's the bomb show. Got it. There you go.
Yeah.
That's fine. I love
2 movies that we don't think are that bad, but bombed. So.
That's unintentional.
Listen, I've reviewed many films of that type. So this is certainly not out of our normal stripe.
That's
just
amusing.
I don't think we've ever watched two of them. I don't think we've ever.
No, we haven't done two back to back.
Yeah. No, we haven't done that. So.
And I watched these back to back too, which was funny.
It's a hell of a tonal shift too, but
yeah.
Anyway, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back again next week. And on that note, go to the Patreon, join for free, watch some stuff. All the Star Trek movies are out now. So, speaking of ending on a movie that is mixed, to be sure, and also has some potential problems, and way, way too much of Data trying to be a comedian, which I could... Anyway, on that note, you know what? Okay, here it is. Streets of Fire or Assassin's Creed, I would recommend over Star Trek Generations. So, I'll put it that way. Consume whatever you want. Have a good time with it. We'll talk to you again next week. Visit OzoneNightmare.com to subscribe to new episodes, browse through our back catalog, or to find links to support the show. Follow @Ozone Nightmare on Twitter for the latest episode postings and other show information. If 280 characters just isn't enough, you can always email us, theozonenightmare@gmail.com. The opening theme for the show is provided by Heartbeat Hero. The closing theme is provided by Ogre. Please visit and support these artists using the links in the show notes for each episode.